Chairman Seifert, just bow for a quick asking of a blessing. Father in heaven, we just ask your blessing on this meeting. You'll give us clear minds, open hearts, open minds, that we would do the work for our neighbors, our community, that you would have us to do. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much for that. Okay, now a roll call, please, if you please.
Walter?
Here.
Spence?
Here.
Nelson?
Here.
Morris?
Here.
McAllister?
Here.
Henschel?
I'm here.
Flynn?
Here.
Andrews?
Here.
Seifert?
Here. Thank you. It's wonderful to see all your signing faces today. So we're going to go on to an approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Commissioner Andrews, support by Commissioner Henschel. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you. First, public comment.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provisions of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board may state his or her name and township or district. Providing a specific address is not recommended. Persons may address the board on matters or issues which are relevant and germane to county government as determined by the chairperson. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, allow an additional opportunity or time to speak if determined germane and necessary to the discussion. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment may be received during the meeting when a specific agenda topic is scheduled for discussion by the board. Prior to the first public comment, the chairperson will indicate the topics on the agenda for which public comment will be accepted. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson. The board shall not comment or respond to a person who is addressing the board. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
Thank you. Anyone for public comment, please just go right up to the podium.
Good morning. Bruce Moore, in East Bay Township. I'm in Commissioner Henschel's district. Several weeks ago, actually at this point a few months ago, I addressed the board with concerns regarding the compensation package that the airport board gave to its executive. Since that time, I have done a number of FOIAs to the airports in Midland, Flint, Lansing, Grand Rapids, Detroit, and Chicago, and find that my concerns are entirely valid. The Traverse City Airport Authority has given its executive a contract which pays for his health care through his retirement to age 65. Basically from the termination of the existing contract to age 65, which I believe would be something on the order of about $250,000. None of the other airport authorities gave that type of retirement provision. In terms of severance provisions, the Grand Rapids and Chicago are employees and have no severance. They have no separate contract. Midland gives 6 months severance. Flint, Grand Rapids, and Detroit give 12 months. Traverse City gives the entire remaining duration of the contract, which was 48 months at the time of signing, plus, if he does not retain other employment, health care benefits through age 65. In terms of compensation, the executive who manages both Chicago O'Hare Airport and Midway Airport earns $350,000 per year. When one includes the base salary of $310,000 per year, plus the on-call payment of just over $40,000, and longevity pay of $24,000, The Traverse City Airport executive gets $375,000 a year. If you look at traditional bonus payments, he makes more than the executive at Detroit as well. I think that it is time for a cleanup of the airport board, and I encourage you to appoint the nominees that you have in your packet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more folks for public comment? Going once, going twice, third time's the charm. All right, move on to the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Andrews, second by Commissioner Henschel, approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you very much. Ms. Shealy, consent calendar, please.
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive. Number 1, Traverse Area District Library August and September 2025 meeting minutes. Number 2, Department of Health and Human Services September 2025 meeting minutes. Number 3, ARPA status report. Number 4, Road Commission September and October 2025 meeting minutes. Number 5, Road Commission September 2025 weekly updates. B, approvals. Number 1, 2% funding application, support skilled labor training and attainable housing. B2, 911 Central Dispatch 2% grant application. Number 3, Friend of the Court Tribal Council allocation of 2% funds application. Number 4, 2% grant application, Reigning Liberty Ranch, Grand Traverse County Department of Veterans Affairs. Number 5, 2% grant application, Memorial Statue, Grand Traverse County Department of Veteran Affairs. Number 6, Sheriff's Office, 2% grant application, AED replacements. Number 7, Land Bank Authority, 2% application, Grand Traverse County Land Bank Authority. Number 8, Parks and Recreation, 2% grant application for stairway replacement at the Natural Education Reserve. Number 9, Parks and Recreation, 2% grant application for accessibility equipment at Camp Graylick. Number 10, Drain Commissioner, 2% grant application, Fall 2025. Number 11, Health Department 2026 Eagle Local Public Health Services Grant Agreement. Number 12, Health Department 2026 MDHHS Local Public Health Services Grant Agreement. Number 13, Veeam Backup Software Renewal. Number 14, Highland On-Base Renewal. Number 15, Administrator and Health Officer Review Request for Proposal. Number 16, Code Red Emergency Notification System 3-year contract renewal. Number 17, Resolution of Acceptance for Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund Grant for construction of the Boardman-Ottaway Crossing Bridge at the Natural Education Reserve. Number 18, ARPA Funding Reimbursement Request. Number 19, Board and Committee Appointment Recommendations. Number 20, Employee Benefit Renewal Health Plan Options. Number 21, September 2025 Claims Approval. That's it.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Holy fright. All righty, would anybody like anything pulled from the consent calendar this morning? Commissioner Nelson.
I'd like to pull B19 and B20.
Let's see where we're at, B19. Anyone else?
I move to approve the consent calendar with exceptions of B19 and B20.
I'll support that.
Fantastic. So we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of B19 and B20 by Commissioner Hensel. It's Commissioner Flynn, correct? Is the second?
Awkwardly.
Awkwardly. Can we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Spence,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
McAllister,
Yes.
Henschel,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Seifert?
Yes? All right, thank you, everyone. Moving right along, special orders of business, 7A. Mr.
Good morning,
Elder.
Commissioners. We have in-house today members from Cunningham Limp and DTE to bring to you an update on Project Alpha. One of the orders of business that we need to address sooner than later is some of the add-ons, some of the options that we have, including green roof infrastructure, solar panels, wells, things of that nature, geothermal. We are at a decision-making point for some of these things, so at some point in time, this board will need to say we do want to have solar panels where they would like them to be. We want them to have a green roof or not, well or not, geothermal or not. Partners in Architecture in Cunningham Limp last week, I believe, was our last meeting, and I know that in order to hit the time frame that we're trying to hit, we just need to move. So Mr. Tomzak is here to provide you that update, and then we'll walk through it. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, Nate. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll walk through quickly with you the monthly progress report as reported on the screen and in your package. Obviously, we've completed the DD set of drawings. We also prepared a very detailed estimate for each of the buildings that we'll walk through in a moment. And we did discuss it at the workshop a few weeks ago. We've also prepared some alternative designs for DTE, but obviously we have had further conversations with DTE. Chris Hackbarth is here. He'll be able to give us further information regarding the plans for the gas line options. We also have the items that Nate mentioned, the solar panel options. It was noted at the workshop a consideration that we could consider green roof for half of the EOC and then solar panels for the other half. That's one option. The other option is to do the full solar panels on the roof for the EOC. And then we also have included south side COB pre-engineered building using solar panels on that, and also for the flat roof. Further down, the green roof options would be an option to do half on the EOC, and we could do the flat roof on the COB. Upcoming work, we're preparing the following construction drawings for completion mid-January so that we can bid out the work. We're holding bi-weekly meetings with the committee members that are on that board or that committee. We're going to finalize the civil engineering drawings so that we can submit those to Garfield Township for their township engineers to review both the public water and the public sewer. And we have to submit those to Eagle through Garfield Township. And then obviously the gas main. So I'd like Chris, if you don't mind, to come up and just kind of do a real quick intro, and we can answer questions that might come up.
Thank you. Oh, gotta shrink this down a little shorter. Chris Hackbarth. I'm a regional manager for DTE Energy for our Northern Michigan territory, based here in our Traverse City office. With me, I also have Carla Shawhan-Barney. She is our transmission operations director for all of Northern Michigan. As you've been briefed previously, the Lafreniere campus has an easement DTE acquired originally back in the 50s for our original line that serves all of this area. That is a transmission line as opposed to distribution, 10-inch steel. So during COVID, during 2020 and 2021, we worked to duplicate that line. And so in that easement, 75-foot easement, there is the eastern side, which is our original line, and then on the western side of that easement is our newer line from 2021. And those serve as reliability and safety, again, providing just a duplicate access to all of Northwest Michigan for natural gas. So as we've been working with the county, we really appreciate the partnership we've had with the team. We've been working very closely to ensure that this project will proceed. It will proceed. There are no concerns from our end. We are working out the various ways to make the option work, but the conversations that we've had have involved encasing the pipe, levels of pad necessary, changing out the material of the original line to match the newer line, so that way we have no change in standards for development above those. We've talked about air bridges. So I think our team right now is working, our engineering folks down in Detroit are working right now to look at costs, material availability, knowing you have a timeline to meet. Carla's working with her team to determine when we could have crews there so that we can make sure that any work that we do to protect that line from static or moving loads over the top is done in conjunction with the work that you want to do on your project. So, Carla, did I miss any? We'll have a meeting. We'll be meeting internally next week to have all those final numbers. We'll get back with your team at that time and sort out the final specifications, final numbers, all of what we're going to be able to do and when. So that's our plan right now, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Commissioner Andrews?
Yes, so I appreciate the update, and we appreciate hearing from you. It might be helpful if we can see what we're talking about. There's a helpful schematic in the plans. And I guess I just want clarification. I believe I know the answer to this, but you indicated getting the numbers and then bringing them back to our administration. Is DTE committed to undertaking that work on its dime, or is that still to be negotiated? Let's say the cost is $750,000 to recase that section, the older redundant transmission line. What's the general thinking that has been discussed so far?
So our team is working on the available budget that we operate on a calendar year budget. Our folks are looking right now at available budget that we can allocate to this. DTE will be committing significant funds to make sure that the county's plan can go forward. We're working on what does that look like with the available dollars that we'll have. So that's kind of what we're going through right now on our end. There is no expectation from our end that, let me put it this way, we want to ensure that the county is able to do what you're able to do with as little impact cost-wise as possible. So that's what we're working on. There is there are other things that we're working on, like I said, supply chain, availability of materials, availability of crews. So those are all the things that are kind of wrapping into our, can we do a switch over this material in the time frame you need? Do we have that? Or do we have to go with a different material? So I think that's some of the calculus that we're going through right now. There is not an expectation that there's going to be any significant financial cost to the county for this.
Music to my ears. Thank you.
As to us all. Any more questions? Thank you for being here today and for your efforts.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Nate. I'm sorry.
It's helpful.
So to continue on, with regard to the budgets, we briefly reviewed those at the workshop. Okay, so thank you, Bobby. So the EOC 911 facility, as reported at the workshop session a few weeks ago, regarding that building, we're at $14.15 million at the low end to $14.875 at the high end. Those numbers did come in less than what we had reported in the schematic design, which was good news. There's a breakout of what we have included, which has the site, the building, and then contingencies. Then for the COB building, we're looking at roughly $12 million to $12.6 million. That again came back at a lesser number than what was reported at schematic design. Go ahead.
Hello, Bobby Peplinski, also with Cunningham. Just real quick, I know we talked about it at the study session, but to go through again the effort of the DD budget that we went through, and then the result of where we got. We went out to subcontractors for that round of budgeting, so we have better information compared to the SD drawing, which is primarily an internal estimate with some general support of subcontractors. Here we got a lot of response for subcontractor involvement for this budgeting effort. There was also revisions that were made as we went through the DD process, ways that we could find ways of savings, adjusting how we were going to construct the building, things like that. That did allow us to go, in general, about $900,000 less on the EOC building compared to the SD budget. And I also want to point out that that number also includes the geothermal within that, versus last time that was a separate line item. So with adding that in, at the time we estimated that to be around $600,000. So now overall, if you're looking apples to apples of the two budgets, we're really down about $1.5 million on the ECC EOC building with adding in that geothermal. And then on the central operations building, a similar result there where we're down about $700,000 despite adding in additional square footage for the mezzanine and things like that. So the steps and the process that we're going through has been a really strong process to get to this point, and we're really seeing that we're dialing in these numbers and getting into a budget range that is falling back into what we expected. So that's where we're at now based on the DD set. And Jerry's going to walk through a little bit now of some of the decisions, as Nate had already brought up, that we really need some direction on now between panels, green roof, well, things like that.
And that number includes the tower as well, correct?
That's correct. That's a good memory there, Nate. The ECC EOC building does include us constructing the tower now as well as part of this project, where prior the county was going to lead that effort to construct their own tower. The one piece it doesn't include is the equipment associated with the tower, which that is still being worked through by the county, but the construction of the actual physical tower is now included within our number as well.
Thank you, Bobby. Just to confirm too, that radio tower is worth about $185,000 in our budget. That's also good news. With regard to the green energy options that we discussed earlier by Nate, we'd like to move forward with the design on what the decision would be of the commissioners for putting solar panel on the complete EOC roof, and we had reported before that's between $600,000 and $800,000. We could also look at using half the roof in green roof, and then the other half of the roof with solar panels. That's reported further down in that at $450,000 to $550,000. The COB building, to put the solar panels on that building on the south side of the pre-engineered building and the flat roof, is between $400,000 and $500,000. And then if we wanted to look at doing green roof in lieu of solar panels on the COB building, we're looking at between $150,000 to $250,000.
Sure.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, thank you. You probably have an update since then, but the first time we talked about this, and I asked for numbers of payoff, the years of payoff on these.
Yes.
At that time, for the solar panels, it was 17 to 18 years, and for
Yeah.
the green roof, there was no expected savings over the life of the, expected life of the building. What have you, I'm sure you've updated those numbers. Where are we at now?
Yes, so Daryl, I did reach out to Keene Industries. Keene's done some work for me on some recent projects. I think I reported before the beta operations. Had a conversation with Jamie Vaughn. He said that it is between 12 and 15 years for the payback on the solar panels. The green roof doesn't have a payback. It's doing all of the good things for our environment, which is filtering the water, helping to reduce the energy usage. The life expectancy of the roof doesn't change. You have a protective layer between the roof membrane and the underside of the green roof. In the end, there's no return on investment for a green roof, but it does provide benefits in the environment.
So you said it increases, I'm sorry, am I jumping ahead of my apologies. Mm-hmm. You said that the green roof may increase the life of the roof?
It could. I'd have to confirm that.
Okay.
But at least it doesn't degrade the roof.
Oh, all right, quicker. Okay,
Yep.
good, thank you.
So those are the options for the green. We also looked at some other options. As noted earlier, we've already got the geothermal in our budget. We're planning to move forward with that.
Yeah, that one made sense last time.
Yep. We had a credit for using boulders in lieu of a retaining wall. So there's some significant dollars there, between $20,000 and $25,000. I also reached out to B&Z Well Drilling. We're working with them on a project just south of Lafreniere. It's called Life Point Church. Looked at the cost of what we're doing for their well, including the horsepower required for that well pump. And in the end, based on what information we have to date, it would be between $25,000 and $30,000. Now, Nate and John had some conversations, or Chris may have been involved in those, on the expected costs for irrigating out there. We anticipate between $2,500 and $3,000 a season that you're spending on watering that site.
So the agenda item report I prepared does have that detail. It gives you the detail for Project Alpha and then the added cost for the Lafreniere campus. And John Chase is here, and he's available to answer any questions you have about that detail.
Commissioner Nelson, go ahead.
Is there an expected lifespan of the solar panels?
Yes, between 20 and 25 years. Yep, and they're getting better by the year.
So even 5 or 10 years from now, they'll be,
Could be longer. Yep.
okay.
Mr. Andrews?
Yeah, on the stormwater, would the green roof options on these two buildings manage the minimum storm requirement for Garfield Township or whatever standards you're considering?
No, they wouldn't,
What
unfortunately.
is the storm event? Is it a 10-year?
It's a 100-year that they're using for design size. But now we're finding that with sandy soils, you're obviously limiting the size of the detention ponds that you would need or retention ponds. In the end, we did have the discussion, maybe what we do is take the stormwater and put it in tanks below the parking lot,
Yeah.
which isn't uncommon, and let it filtrate underground once it's collected in those. So we are evaluating those.
And last time we talked about the fact that as planned, it looks like all retention for the new structures is sort of off-site. It's on the adjacent parcel,
Right.
which will limit the future use of those parcels. And to the extent we can bring it on site and to the extent a green roof would at some level at least help, it won't hurt
Correct.
a move in that direction. But certainly from a water quality perspective, given the amount of impervious surface we're looking at on that site, it's phenomenal. And
It is.
trying to do some filtration seems like a net benefit to the environment and water quality.
And you may want to consider too, over in that southeast corner we had mentioned at the workshop, there's a proposed retention pond here. That really isn't a very large usable area.
Right.
So it might make sense to at least use that for it. But this one, further to the west, could go underground, or we could do a combination of both. Also note that we could always convert this into underground detention and use this area as a parking lot for future expansions that would happen further to the west. And it doesn't, so you're not spending dollars that you're not going to spend again.
Right. So question, and this may be for DTE, is the plan to, I'm just looking at the section of the easement that's runs south of this development site area. Would the plan include addressing the redundant transmission pipe in that area while you're at it? Or would it, and I'm just thinking like to the extent there's future plans for that southern portion of the property, are we going to face the same challenge there with respect to the amount of pressure that can sit on top of that, half of that easement?
The conversations we're having with the county right now are relative only to the development that's being discussed. Any development outside of that parcel, we would have fair conversations ahead of time so the county could plan in for costs of how to address at the county's cost any measures that would be needed.
And would that be an opportunity to have an incremental cost? For example, if DTE is mobilizing a crew to do the work in the design area, and then it's an additional, you don't have to mobilize an entire crew, you don't have to design, if you're doing it all at the same time, I would imagine the incremental cost for the county is less than if we did it as a standalone project at some other time.
And we have had those conversations that yes, if we're already in and doing excavation work to extend it and then the county pays a portion, that is a conversation we've had. That's another part of the number crunching that's going on.
Right. I just feel like I would want our administration to ensure that that parcel is as buildable as possible going forward and not lose an opportunity to sort of share some of the fixed costs while we're at it.
Mr. Hackbarth and I did talk about that very thing. That's why he's waiting for good numbers for us, that we can come back to this board with confidence that we understand what we're going to pay and what that's going to result in. In my way of thinking, it would make just common sense that if DTE is already mobilized adding to this project, why wouldn't we move that further north and further south as well? Right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the cost is. Chris hasn't been able to give me even a forecast at this point in time, but we should know in the next week or two.
Yeah, I've been told the 7th we will have numbers. Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Commissioner Hensel?
I had some questions on a much deeper issue, the well.
But I'm done.
Thank you. I'll be here all morning. How did you come up with to me, it looks like about double what a well's costing right now. Is that just like a ballpark, or is it a deeper aquifer we're looking at?
We're anticipating it's going to be a little deeper. We're probably at 250 feet, 300 feet down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it says for irrigation only, so you're saying it would not be available as a backup water source?
At this point, correct. We'd have to have further discussions with the health department. We did have an initial conversation with them.
Okay.
But we have to circle back with them on more details. At this point, if we try and tie it into the EOC, we're going to have additional cost.
Backflow prevention, yes.
It's
Okay.
just a question of how can we isolate? They don't want potential for cross-contamination from a
Okay.
well to the public water. But yes.
Okay, and then when we look at the return on investment in the solar panel systems, are we calculating the interest on the money we borrow to put them in? Is that part of the ROI calculation?
It
Okay.
is, yes.
All right.
We take that into
So
consideration.
I'll voice, if the financing works out, I'm supportive of something that has a return on investment and sets, an example to the community that we are focused on more longer-term renewable resources. That's a no-brainer to me. I'm not personally real hip on the green roof. It doesn't really seem to make sense to me. And I'm fully supportive of the well. I think it's going to pay for itself in just a few years of irrigation. And then I am also interested in it being a backup water source. When we talk about an emergency operations center and a catastrophic incident, it's not very often we go without water, but if it did happen, we would be able to support our teams and our community through that backup system and possibly solar panels as well.
So, thank you, Commissioner Hensel. To piggyback on that, Jerry, so if we voted to approve the well, just for irrigation purposes, the well that you're anticipating designing to put in for that could be adapted for a backup water system at a later date?
Yes, it could be.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Spence.
Hey, thanks. Could you elaborate a little more on the parking over stormwater retention that we discussed? Because I think that, in my opinion, and what I've gained so far, is that would be a really good alternative to the green roof. Because I almost feel with all the stormwater options up there that the green roof would be not as necessary. I know there's a lot of asphalt coming, but the retention under the parking was appealing to me, and maybe that's a good thing to expand on.
So what you typically do for an underground storm system, you obviously have to still size it just like you do above ground. So it has to collect that water. We typically will put stone with a filter wrap around that storm tank. It then collects the water. It has sumps at different locations so that any sedimentation that came off the parking lot still will collect like a catch basin does. A catch basin typically has a sump at the bottom of it. These would have access covers at certain locations so that you can open it up, still get a vacuum in there to suck out any of the sedimentation. The water itself that sits in there eventually still migrates through the soils because you still have a stone and a filter. So you're not contaminating any of the underground. The whole intent is just like it's treated above ground, except it's collected underground. It's a nice source up here to use because you have sandy soils. Where I came from, we had a lot of clay, and it made it very expensive, but in this case, it doesn't. So I used it, in this case, on the common grounds, West Shore Bank. We did that in that separation drive. It worked well for that. We've done it on a couple of other projects, and it does work. The trick is making sure you maintain them. Just like any catch basin, you got to clean out those sumps. If the sump fills, all that sedimentation's getting in the pipe and eventually blocks the pipe. So it's a great source. It's a good opportunity, I think, for us if our intent is to utilize as much of the land as possible out there.
Commissioner Walter.
Just another question about the, an alternative approach to the stormwater management. Did we look at all into a more permeable parking lot situation?
We briefly discussed it. I have studied that before. I've never used it, but I actually attended a class on it because it was up and coming during the days of LEED certification. Problem we have with those porous types of concrete or asphalt is just like the maintenance. It needs to constantly be vacuumed of any sedimentation that collects there. And with us living in northern Michigan, we have a tendency to freeze that ground early which means that water's not going down into those porous openings. It's not until it thaws out. So what are you doing in the end? You're creating a hard surface. It's wonderful to use in warm temperatures, but it's difficult to use in cold temperatures.
Just been seeing them pop up more locally.
Yeah, you can use them. If we were to go that route, it's going to cost also more money, but again, it's going to require more maintenance too.
I understand it's more money upfront than a regular, but long-term is it used as an alternative to those large catch basins that are taking up all that space?
It is, because now you're taking that stormwater and allowing a certain percentage of it to be expected to saturate into that porous condition and filtrate down into the soils. So yes, you do have a choice to lessen how much area, but I think the return on investment would be, if you want to consider, is to do the underground storm versus the porous type of concrete. I don't know, it hasn't been life tested to know, does it stand up to asphalt? I don't know the answer to that, but certainly it costs more.
If we would do the under the parking lot water, the stormwater disposal, but versus the catch basin, where do we put the snow?
You can still stockpile your snow.
Okay.
And let it dissipate into the ground on the perimeters of the parking areas.
Okay, so there wouldn't be a problem? Okay.
No, doesn't affect that at all.
Commissioner Nelson?
So I want to clarify something. I think I heard one thing from you and another thing from Commissioner Andrews about the amount of space needed for retention with the green roof. I think you said that adding a green roof doesn't change the retention, but then you said that it does.
It's
So
slight. It's not going to be much, because you got to think about that. If you're
just
collecting
still
that
goes
water
off.
on that green roof, it's the weight. You can't let it just saturate there.
Yeah.
It's going to filtrate, but it does lessen the coefficient of runoff, and it does collect partially the stormwater. Percentage-wise, it can't be more than a couple percent.
Yeah.
So as I understand it, you would design the storm for, say, a 100-year storm, or the retention area, on an average 10-year storm, that roof might capture all of the falling rain on it, so you don't use it, but you still have to design it for the 100-year storm for those peak events.
That's right.
So that's why it doesn't save you in terms of the capacity that you would create, whether it's on-site or off-site.
Correct.
So it does help you during most storm events
Yeah.
from an ecological perspective. It just
Yep.
doesn't
And
prevent.
Right, and it's filtering that water too, because the plant life that you're using is intended to do exactly what it does, helps filtrate that. But eventually that water gets through that green roof, goes into a roof sump, that roof sump discharges to ground or below ground to a detention pond of some sort.
Which you're going to have to build either way. Okay.
I mean, I love green roofs, I've done them, but again, they're just, from a number standpoint, I don't see a return on the investment. You have to also maintain those, depending on the species of plant life.
And is it too soon in the design process to incorporate other aspects of green infrastructure like tree basins and capturing storm for irrigation of tree gardens and those sorts of things?
Nope, it's not too late. We could consider that, because that'll affect just the civil design. It doesn't have anything to play with on the architectural or MEP design.
And those are relatively low-cost additions to the project.
So we can certainly look at that. Yep.
Do we need a motion to
We
approve?
do, but I
Okay,
haven't
so
got
maybe
there
we'll
yet.
take this in part. So I'll make the motion to add for the solar panel system on both the EOC and the COB.
I'll second.
Okay, so my question was, before you made the motion, there's only so much, what's the power generation depending upon how much solar panels we put up there? I understand that technology changes over, advances.
I think for the EOC, you're probably looking at maybe 75 to 100 kilowatt,
Okay.
probably close to that in the COB.
What
If you want to
percentage
compare
of
that to the Beta project, we did 320 kilowatts. But that also had a roof of 20,000 square foot. So that's what I'm using kind of as my benchmark.
Do we have an expectation of power draw for the buildings?
You'll have power draw.
No, I
What
understand that.
percentage?
I think I know where you're going. What's the offset? How much are we generating versus how much are we using?
Oh, you're going to use a lot more than you're saving. What you're capturing with solar panels is a fraction. If I was to guess, maybe 10%. Yeah. You're going to use a lot more power in those buildings than what you're capturing with the solar panels. I can't tell you exactly what it is.
Well, ballpark is fine for me.
Yeah.
Was that your, kind of where you're going with that,
Yep.
Commissioner?
Yeah,
Oswald?
thank you.
Yeah, you're not going to, if there are times where you're not utilizing the facility, those solar panels are being used to generate the electricity. So that can be discharged back into the grid, and you get some money for it. I don't know exactly what Cherryland Co-op will provide you with, but you'll get some type of reimbursement. TCLP did the beta project, and I think they get 60 cents on every dollar of electricity that they put back on the grid. Those rates are starting to change. You're
Right.
starting to see more solar panels show up on projects, which thus changes the business plan or the business model for the electricity companies.
So,
That's a good thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Mr. Andrews?
I was just going to ask on the proposal for solar on the COB, is that only for the south face on the re-engineered, the re-engineered section?
Yeah, the pre-engineered building, south face of that slope,
Pre-engineered.
and then also the flat roof area of that.
It's both? So that would leave no room for a green roof? It would maximize the roof for
Correct.
for
Yeah,
solar?
because you only have about 15,000 square foot of roof area on the COB.
I mean, it seems to me if we have to forego solar to have a green roof, that seems like a trade-off, especially considering either way you do it, we're going to use all the solar that we're generating. So it makes sense to me in this particular case to maximize the solar since it has a trade-off and we need that capacity, the full amount of generation. I would like to see as much green infrastructure built in and on-site retention because I think I think that's good, best practice for everybody, but also I think we want to keep that other parcel as independent of this parcel as we can. I think that's, going forward, we're going to want that flexibility.
Sure.
Commissioner Henschel?
Just checking your math. You said in the ballpark of 15-year return on investment.
12 to 15 on solar panels.
Okay. So if it's $1.3 million at the top end, so that's going to generate $86,000 worth of electricity every year. Does that sound right?
I'd have to do the math. I don't.
Well, I just did.
Yeah.
That just seems
Assuming yours
like
is correct. It seems high
that.
for the amount of.
It seems like the ROI numbers might be a little off. I don't know. Just check your math.
Well,
Right.
12 years is going to be almost $1.2 million at $86,000 a year.
Yeah.
So the payoff would, by your math, is going to be earlier, correct?
Yeah, we're talking in ranges on everything, but
Yeah.
Commissioner Spence?
Yeah, does your solar panel system, have you taken into account the state incentives that still exist? I know the federal incentives are going to be running out.
No, that 12 to 15 year is not based on any type of a grant that you would receive. So yes, there are grants out there. As a matter of fact, I mentioned before, the Beta did get a grant through the state of Michigan through Eagle. for theirs.
So the Federal Inflation Reduction Act, the clean energy tax credits are still available. So we're reviewing guidance on how to claim those tax, and so that is something, if it's available, we will pursue that.
Our objective today is to move forward with this, right? I mean, we want to do groundbreaking
That's right.
February 2026. So what more do we need to talk about?
Well, we have a motion on the floor to approve solar for all the buildings.
Yeah, so I just kind of want to get to yes.
Commissioner Nelson?
I can't support adding solar panels because we're adding 6 to 7% to the cost of the buildings for a pretty extended payoff when, the technology on these things is changing pretty rapidly, so we're going to be outdated. There's a very good possibility that in that period of time, there'd be even a desire to upgrade or change for more efficiency, so I'm going to vote no on the solar panels.
Commissioner Henschel?
I'm sorry, just to clarify, did you say 100 kilowatt hours per year generation ballpark on the solar?
Yes, ballpark.
Okay. Well, my napkin math says it should be about 5 times that to get a 15-year ROI. So I'm not in at this point. I'd like to see the breakdown.
And with
before-
regard to
before-
the solar panels,
I'm
we're
sorry?
not planning to use batteries. We're not
Mhm.
going to do any type of backup on site, because you remember I'd mentioned before, it takes up room storage.
Yeah, it's live
Right.
feed.
So if we want to defer a decision on solar panels, I'm not opposed to that today, only because with the Beta project, we ended up putting those solar panels on after the building was completed. We were able to obtain that grant, so they moved forward with that. There wasn't a premium to be paid. In the end, all we had to do was have Cherryland, or in this case TCLP, come back, change out their meter base. We were able to accommodate all of the equipment. Of course, it's great to have it done now. We're going to still size the roof for the weight loads. I've mentioned before, roughly around 5 pounds per square foot.
What
So as long as
percentage?
we're accommodating that, we could always come back and revisit the solar panel after we get some further numbers.
So you don't need direction on a green roof or solar panels today, per se?
Green roof would be nice to know, just because the designers are trying to get everything in the drawings correct. So
Well,
if we could,
I
then
think
it-
there's some information that's not available about tax credits, and I'm pretty sure we haven't reached out to Cherryland Electric yet.
Right.
Though we
Well,
should.
it's not in Cherryland,
or-
just.
I just
Marion.
want to say,
Yeah, it is.
the
You
last,
said it was Light and
the
Power.
last team
No,
meeting, it
it's Cherryland.
seemed
Powers.
like Partners in Architecture, where they are with the drawings and the construction drawings, like, we really need to move on some of these issues.
Again,
need some-
if you're asking me to get further data, then we obviously can't make a decision today with regard to solar panels. But if we can make decisions with regard to what you expect you're going to see in the final drawings beyond solar panels, that'd be nice.
We do, and we do know, we do have the information on the tax credit, we have it. We do know that the federal guidance is you file for your tax credit after project completion, within 5 months after the end of your fiscal year. So we know what we need to file, we're just not sure how much we can get back and, some of the more granular details of that process.
All right, so,
And that's in addition to the state possibility.
Yeah, we're constantly doing grant scans. I can't tell you what's available at the state level, but absolutely, we continue to look at what's through Eagle or other state agencies.
Commissioner Nelson.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Forsythe answered one of my two questions. The other question, I'm not going to ask you to do math on the fly, but do you remember what the tax credit percentage of the cost of the solar panels were at Beta? You may not. And
I have
It was a
no
grant,
idea what they
wasn't it?
got. I wasn't involved on that side of it.
okay.
Just to close the loop with regard to the Beta project, we ended up assigning the RFP in a situation where we let the proposed solar panel company design the system they were going to install. That way, they stood behind the design. They saw the conditions we had. So that made it easier. It avoids any potential for finger pointing. Going back to Chris's concern, PIA would like to know the answer to the solar panel only because they're responsible then for the design of it. But we don't have to give them the design of the solar panel system, is my point.
I remain with my answers no now until we have more.
Yeah.
I would like to see some more hard fast numbers. I'm very pro-solar when it makes economic sense. And by the time we get solar panels on this building, they're not even going to be the solar panels that they're putting up today. They'll be 3 or 4 times next generation, the way that they're moving. Is there a way that we can, there is a motion on the floor, is there a friendly amendment we could do to move ahead and get some hard numbers and make a final decision later on? I'm looking for suggestions, gentlemen.
You can do that.
Just for clarity, what information do you need to make the
We
decision?
already had an ROI, right? You
Well,
provided
nobody's
that.
talked to, well, for one, nobody's talked to the energy provider. There might be some, we're talking about rates that we're gonna get for generating power. There are state rebates, there are state and federal, as you said, rebates, tax credits and things like that. And when we're talking about conjecture, we're not even really sure about how much space is gonna create how much power and how much we're gonna use, except that we're not gonna generate as much as we're using. You know, I realize that we're only talking, $1 million here out of a $30 million project, but I'd like to have a little more
Only
concrete
million.
numbers.
So if I recall correctly, the Partners in Architecture concern was specific to the green roof and the engineering of the additional weight that is going to be on the roof. So if we can make a decision, yes or no, on the green roof, obviously a green roof limits the solar panel usage because you're not going to put necessarily solar panels on a green roof. But if we could make a decision on the green roof, maybe the well, and some things along that are in this package that we can move forward with, we can work with you on the solar panel discussion and bring it back to you in the future, at a future meeting.
Okay.
We do have a motion, so to your point, Mr. Chairman,
There
have a
may be
question about
5
the well,
votes in
but I'd like to
favor of
wait.
it as is.
What's
You know,
that?
There may be 5 votes in favor of solar as is. Just too many question marks for me personally, but there might be 5 people here that say, yeah, do it.
Mr. Spence?
Let's call
Yeah,
that
one
vote.
last thing in favor of solar and the tax incentives that exist. The University of Michigan's Center for Empowering Communities, their clean energy land use specialists have really done a good job of reaching out to communities to share the incentives for solar. I know I can't maybe convince those of you who are unsure because I don't have the facts in front of me, but I feel very assured and confident that those incentives exist for solar. And I feel a really strong push to at least get us to yes today on moving ahead with Project Alpha. And that's all I have to say, but I do believe that those incentives make it good. And it's going to change, like you said, Commissioner Chair Seifert, that technology is going to change for solar maybe next week, but it's been continuously changing. In my opinion, I don't feel like that should cause us to wait because it's always going to get better, and we need to build it early 2026.
All right, so we kind of talked around this. Are you good with your motion as made, Commissioner Walter? I'm going to call a vote. All right. Did you get what the motion was, Bonnie?
Yeah, was Henschel the second?
He was.
All right, so the motion was to add the solar panel system for both the EOC and COB buildings?
Yep. Roll call vote, please.
Nelson?
No.
Morris?
Not there yet, no.
McAllister?
Nope.
Henschel?
No.
Flynn?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes?
Spence?
Yes.
Seifert?
No. Okay, so I'm going to make a motion. Before I do, I have a question. We have some hard, fast numbers about solar panel additions in 2 weeks?
Could you give me a month?
Sure thing. I'm going to make the motion. We direct our building committee or Project Alpha committee to come back with hard numbers about solar panel adding-ons in a month, 30 days. I have a second.
Second.
What specifically do you want to see? Because the whole point of us meeting today was to discuss these things, and I thought there'd be.
Well, there are a lot of
After
things
we've
to
had a
discuss. and we-
study session, and we've had an ROI, and we've had this presented at least 3 times before today.
What else specifically do you, just so that we're not setting Jerry up for yet another meeting where he's not quite getting what you want without any kind of clarification from you?
Well, we haven't talked to the energy provider, for one. So,
What else?
well, let's start with that. And then 75 watts to 100 watts doesn't tell me anything. Whatever. I'm all about the solar, but I have to make sure I got to do my due diligence for the taxpayers. I'm all in. So let's go with that. So I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion?
I don't know what the motion is. Can you be
The
more
motion is that we're going to direct the Project Alpha Building Committee, forgive the word, the lack of proper nomenclature, to come back with definitive numbers and rebates, tax incentives, energy output, the kind of cost generation that we could get by generating solar power, offsets, and payoff, or return on our investment, specifically. We've been talking in big cloud ranges. Big cloud ranges don't work for me. And he says he could do it in a month.
I'm
In a month,
confident.
he's not going to have the building, and there won't even be a shovel in the ground in a month.
But is it going to delay is that going to have any kind of snowball effect?
It will not, no.
Okay.
And I'm confident I can get that information for you.
Thank you.
So just as point of discussion, if we get 15 cents a kilowatt generated, which seems high to me because I know I pay less than that. So if we did, at the ROI numbers we're talking about to make up $1.3 million in 15 years, it would have to generate 577,000 kilowatt hours per year. His estimate was 100. That's why I couldn't vote for doing solar now, but if there's incentives, if there's, get with the manufacturer of the panels. What is the actual output? What is the actual life expectancy of the panel? That they're willing to put their stamp on and say, yes, our product does this. that's something we can make a decision on. I kind of expected that to be here today, but we got estimates that didn't really add up when I put it on my napkin. So that's why I think this is a great motion. The only problem with this is if we want to do if there's 5 votes here that want to do a green roof, then solar's not an option. So that's
Well,
where we're at, and that's what could slow the process down. If this board declares there's not enough support for a green roof, but we do want to pursue solar, then they can just keep going from today. It's not going to slow anything down.
correct. Any more discussion? Bonnie, can you roll call vote, please?
Can I make sure I have this right?
Sure thing.
So it's Direct Project Alpha Building Committee
That would be, is that what it's called? Sure.
to come back with definitive numbers regarding rebates, offsets, return on investment, et cetera, within 30 days?
Yep,
And that's on solar panels and green roofs?
it's on solar panels.
Just solar panels? Okay.
Can you go back and look, like, watch the video for his list instead of et cetera? I really don't like motions that include things like et cetera, because I feel like
There's a couple
poor
more in
Jerry
there.
will come back and we won't.
He could just write them
No.
down for me.
That's right. No, I've got what we need.
Yeah, they
I-
just want it in the,
Yep.
We want to make sure the record reflects what we're voting on today.
Right, not et cetera.
I think the et cetera means the additional energy that those solar panels will create. Because now we know we want to move towards this as a potential design. We can get that.
Good.
Yeah.
Any other data?
Are you ready?
oh, yeah,
Can you do a roll call vote, please?
yes, sir. Morris?
Yes.
McAllister?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Nelson?
No.
Seifert?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. All right, so let's talk about a well.
Yeah, I was gonna.
Please, you
So,
had some comments.
I was
questions.
unable to make the study session, so forgive me for my question here, but I want to understand more about why the well, it's for irrigation and fire pump water storage. Is that something that could be done with city water? Is there other reasons, and is there a return of investment on the well as well?
Let's break this up a little bit.
Thank you.
With regard to the irrigation well, that was a directive to consider during one of the work sessions. So the estimated return on that investment would probably be around 10 years if you're using anywhere between $2,500 and $3,000 a year for irrigation. With regard to using the well as a backup for the EOC, domestic water supply and fire suppression, we don't get to just do a well. We would have to do that reserve tank underground. Then you have to pump that water from that reserve tank into the fire suppression system of the building.
It's all ready to go at once.
So typically what you find in most communities, if you've got public water, you use that public water supply. It's dependable, it's reliable. We talked about the fact that the water plant does have a generator, so it's expected to be there for your use during an emergency need. Of course, you never know what could potentially happen down the road. In the event you do decide to move in that direction for domestic water use and for fire suppression on a private well, then we have to still talk to the health department and get further information from them on if it will be allowed, how the connection would be done. So you'd have to disconnect from the public water supply, hook up the the private well. That takes time. In the event of an emergency, I don't know how much time it's going to take, but we want to evaluate that according to what I heard from the commissioners. So that's why I still listed out that fire pumps and that storage tank at between $250,000 and $300,000.
For the primary use.
Yep. Now, the well itself, we can put it in to accommodate like a 5-horsepower pump. That would provide for what would be needed to fill that tank in the event we decide to go in that direction. Because that tank has to be filled up in a certain number of minutes under emergency capacity needs.
And that can be done on city or a well.
Good? Yes.
So the well is primarily for irrigation and catastrophic. Does the emergency manager want to make any comment? Is that a common request in other centers? Okay.
Is that no comment or not a common request?
Come up to the mic.
Yeah, you don't commonly see it.
Yeah. We're putting in a $250,000 to $300,000 well.
I think there's two separate items there. We can have a well without the backup. We can't have
Okay.
the backup without the well.
Okay, so
But the
explain
well-
that to me. Well, I understand you can't have the backup without the well, but,
But you can have a well, use it only for irrigation and never hit that. And we
Right.
could approve, if it was A, B, C, credit for boulders, B is add water irrigation, and C is, we could do B without doing C, or we could do B and come back to C at some future date.
so, okay, so the water well for irrigation only is 25 to 30,000.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I was not fully understanding that.
It's a standalone item,
Gotcha.
as I understand it, so.
And that's a 10-year payoff about approximately. Sorry.
That's
Accord-
correct.
According
Greg
to,
to speak, he spent the time coming up here.
he's fine.
No, we're good.
So according to the paperwork that Dean gave us, it'd actually be more like a 5-year payout. Because the estimated irrigation costs are between $5,000 and $7,000, depending upon which one we're talking about as Lafreniere here.
I had heard between 2,500 and 3,000 for irrigation on this proposed site.
We've gotten some harder numbers since then.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
You're
and
welcome.
My apologies again for not being here. I wanted to
No,
make
good.
sure I understood it correctly.
Good questions. It's good questions.
Did you want to walk through any of the elevations? I included some additional renderings in your package. It's totally up to you. No, just the EOC. Yeah.
The calculations are doing.
John, I would have, Bobby was just asking the question, that estimated cost for irrigation, was it the entire Lafreniere campus, or was it just the EOC and COB estimated 25 to 3,000? You recall?
Question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
start
by all means,
delegating.
please
who
do.
comes up.
The estimated addition for the COB,
John,
EOC.
introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. John Chase, Parks and Facilities Director for Grand Traverse County. Thank you. The estimated addition for this additional part of the property was about $2,600 a year.
Yeah, I sent this.
got it right
informa-
here.
All right, you got it? Okay,
Yep.
Great, thank you. That is an analysis completed by the Finance Department, and there's a little bit of science there because not all of this is metered, so there has to be some type of a formula provided, and Mr. Bott's office did that projection, so we have a good idea of what the Lafreniere campus, including the Public Services Building and the Health Department, and it's right around that $6,500 mark. We're estimating Project Alpha specifically to be around $2,600 annually.
Would the new well provide irrigation for the entire campus?
No. It gets cost prohibitive, because you can imagine you're using that isolated well at the very south or the easterly side to pump. You'd have to run all that additional piping to go and tie back into your other irrigation systems.
So you'd have to do your payback period over just the $2,600 a year.
That's right.
For Project Alpha.
That's
So the
correct.
payback period then becomes more like 10 or 15 years.
That's what I was estimating, 10, 11 years. Rob, you want to check that for me?
Can someone just clarify, in the image, what are we irrigating?
It would be all the landscaped areas, so I can go to the
So
site plan.
There's not a lot of landscaped areas.
No. So we'd have the perimeter. Obviously, you have more open area around the EOC, all of the perimeter on all four sides. You'd have these landscaped areas of the islands for the parking. So you'd have that. You'd have that north side right here. And then anything further to the west of the new parking lot, possibly that would be included here, but I wouldn't go any further than that.
And if we had a rain capture system on the roof, we could offset some of those irrigation costs without an irrigation well, right? We could,
We could. We could also look at the idea of filtering that underground storage, stormwater. I don't know what,
For
I've never
irrigation.
done one, so I want to put that caveat out there. But if you're collecting that water, could that be filtered again to be used as what we call gray water for irrigation?
right.
I think you're going to have to get into some filtering, because now you're talking about salt in the wintertime that's collected in that tank. That tank's probably not going to be cleaned out, and now you're going to pump possibly some salt-contained irrigation water.
But,
Sounds pricey.
but you're also applying it to potentially areas that you're going to design using green infrastructure and using xeriscaping. Hopefully, you're going to plant some plants in there that are prone to or supportive of
That's right.
gray water in the first place.
That's right. And we could also look at taking the roof water directly to a couple of smaller
Barrels.
type of barrels that are underground, collect that water, as opposed to trying to take the water and treat it from the parking lot.
Right, so that would be clean water coming right off the roof
Yep.
there, so.
They used to do it in the olden days, cisterns.
Yep.
If you remember any of those, that's what they did.
Yeah, that, I understand there's some companies in town that specialize in those collection systems.
Yep. So that might even be an option. And maybe we don't even have to irrigate it. Maybe we do it into drip lines.
I'll make the motion that we direct Cunningham Limp to investigate opportunities for gray water reuse to offset the need for any irrigation well for Project Alpha.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Andrews, seconded by Commissioner Walter about investigation of gray water for irrigation use. Any comments, Commissioner Henschel?
Respectfully, I'm not supportive. There's just not enough gray water. I mean, you're counting on rain, you can't count on it. I grew up farming cherries, you can't count on the rain. So, unless we want a chance, not looking professional, not having green grass. But I am supportive of the well, so I'm going to say no on this one.
Commissioner Walter, you had your hand up real quick.
Yeah, we had a similar discussion about the Civic Center Park this summer, and as far as I know, we're still waiting to hear back information on how we might go about that. I don't know if Mr. Chase has an update on that.
Oh.
And maybe this will help inform this decision, because that was 5 months ago or something.
3.
John Chase, Parks and Facilities Director, Grand Traverse County. In the same analysis that Mr. Bott provided, we looked at 2024, and our number for 2024 for irrigation at Civic Center was about $17,000. And we figured that we've got there's some estimates, some guesswork that goes into this, but we've got a 45-acre property. We estimated that we were watering about 30 acres of that property, so that puts us at about $600 an acre for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That answer your question?
No, don't go anywhere. Because the discussion we had, which was about, we're currently using filtered, high-quality city drinking water for irrigation at the Civic Center. And we thought directed administration to look at alternatives for the Civic Center in particular, related to capturing gray water and using that for irrigation. I know we moved forward with the irrigation system that needed to be there, but just wondering where we are with that piece of it, because that might help inform how we move forward with something like this.
Sure. Now, my recollection of that was for us to take a look at the possibility of a well on property, and we did do that. And we had a conversation with the city, and that was something that they were not prepared to support, to be able to allow us to put a well at that park property. I don't recall having a conversation about the gray water, so that's not something that we investigated, but it's something that we can take another look at. I would share a similar concern, though, with that, simply because we've got ball fields and a lot of things, and it's a very visible space, so it's hard to count on, well, I shouldn't say gray water, that's going back to the rainwater, never mind.
Any more comments? Commissioner Nelson?
I just want to get this ball moving forward, so I'm not going to support the delaying on the well. But that's the reason why I think it's time to call the ball on this, and I'd rather talk about maybe eliminating the $253 or $300,000 for the well backup and fire pump. So I'll vote no on this.
Commissioner Andrews?
Yeah, so just to be clear, a couple of things. One is if we get some information on how we can reuse on-site water for irrigating the little areas around the EOC, is that going to slow anything down on the project?
No.
If we don't move forward with a well for irrigation today and we decide in a month to pursue a well for irrigation in a month, is that going to slow anything down?
No.
And if we were to move forward with a proposal where we try to reuse as much of the stormwater on site, whether it's from roofs or parking lots or otherwise for irrigation, and there was a drought period, would we still have access to public water supply to keep the greenery growing?
Of course you would, because you'd have public water there on site. So yes, that could be an option.
Fantastic. Friendly amendment, 30 days?
30 days, accepted.
All right. Man, that was a long way around the barn. I forgot everything. So that was by you, Commissioner Andrews?
Yes.
So could you restate your motion for me?
Motion to ask Cunningham Limp to come back in 30 days with additional information about reuse of stormwater for irrigation at the Project Alpha site.
Commissioner Walter, are you the second on that?
Yep.
Fantastic. I think we had enough discussion on that. Are you ready, Ms. Shealy? Roll call it, please.
McAllister,
Yes.
Henschel,
No.
Flynn,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Spence,
Yes.
Nelson,
No.
Morris,
Yes.
Seifert.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Anything else you need?
Nope.
Green roof.
In your package is the,
Well, solar is negating the green roof.
Yep.
Are we
No
taking
gr-
that?
no green.
This is-
Well,
we're
there is
30
no
days.
solar at this point, but in 30 days, I guess we'll take that up.
We're
We're
going to
good.
move forward.
You want a motion to remove the green roof? Do you want to
I-
have that?
I
clarified?
think, go ahead. No, by all means, please.
It's the board's decision.
It is a
I-
board decision, but by
I-
all means, you drive this ship.
But do you want clarity on that?
I prefer clarity on it because Partners in Architecture has expressed
Size, yeah.
interest in,
it would be appropriate to get the decision on the green roof, because again, that affects the weight loads.
I'll make a motion that we remove the green roof consideration from the plans.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, supported by Commissioner Morris, that we're going to remove the green roof as an option for Project Alpha. Any comments? Commissioner Walter?
Yeah, so I'm not ready yet because we just asked for more information to come back in 30 days that might inform how we manage stormwater overall, and the green roof is part of that discussion, and maybe it's a combination with the green roof and the solar panels once we get that information in 30 days.
Commissioner Andrews?
Yeah, I share Commissioner Walter's perspective, and for the additional reason that I think this board failed to pass movement on the solar panels, so it's unclear whether we would in fact do any solar, and if we did, how much of the roof would be used for solar. And my initial willingness to retract support for the green roof was on the assumption that we would use the entire rooftop for solar. So I will not be supporting this.
Any more comments, questions, concerns?
I
Commissioner Henschel?
personally, this fits where I'm at, and I think this allows our architect to keep moving forward if this motion passes. If not, it's going to push the whole project back another 30 days plus.
All right, any more comments?
If we delay this decision on the green roof portion of what we're deciding on today, is it going to delay?
It would delay the construction documents. Now, I could consider this, if you want to, still sizen the steel for the potential of a green roof. Of course, that means you're oversizing the steel, which means you're spending some more dollars, but the other option is we would delay the construction documents.
There is a motion on the floor. Thank you, Jerry.
I just want to say the green roof has never made fiscal sense, and we're spending public dollars here, so it never has made fiscal sense, and there's no indication that it ever will.
Well, luckily, not every decision is susceptible to dollars and cents, and protecting our water quality might be considered invaluable. But I think we have no choice without support for full solar panels on the roof at this point to make a decision on the green roof.
Fantastic. Any more comments? Commissioner Flynn, do you have one?
I agree with both Commissioner Walter and Commissioner Andrews.
All right. Ms. Shealy, if you are ready, roll call vote on that, please.
Henschel,
Yes.
Flynn,
No.
Andrews,
No.
Walter,
No.
Spence,
No.
Nelson,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
McAllister,
Yes.
Seifert.
Yes. All right, thank you. Are you all set, Jerry?
I think I am. Did you want to walk through any of the renderings, or?
Anybody want to look at the renderings?
That last week.
Just did.
They're pretty.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you, everyone. Have a great
We're
day.
going to take
Your
a
time.
10-minute break, folks.
Jennifer,
Yes.
the hops market. That's I'm not.
We make the decision on landscape. Because we are going to need something.
All righty, I'm going to call this meeting back to order, and Member Berkeley from Michigan State University Extended Education, going to do our
Yes.
annual report for us, I believe.
Yes. Thank you again, Commissioners. My name is Jennifer Berkey, and I'm the District 3 Director for Michigan State University Extension. And as part of my annual appearance before the board, I'm here to present our annual report. And again, I always like to put a caveat that this is my home county of residence and my office of record, and so it's always a distinct privilege to be here today to present this great report. I do want to just recognize that I'm just a figurehead on behalf of all the staff that are working in this county. So again, there's some pieces of this report that I've had some impact on, but the large work is done by our team here. And so again, I just want to recognize them, and you'll see their pictures throughout the presentation. So I always like to just remind you how we're funded and why we exist. So just as a little history lesson, way back a long time ago, we created the land grant institution through Michigan State University through some federal appropriations. And so through that land swap, so a university was created in East Lansing. And the caveat to that land being donated by the state of Michigan was that you'd bring the knowledge and education to the people, hence the land grant mission was formed. So as part of that land grant mission, we are here in counties doing work on behalf of the university. So it was recognized that not everyone has a chance to go to a university to get that education. And as university employees, it is our charge and mission to bring that knowledge to the public. And so we bring knowledge on critical issues facing Grand Traverse County residents every day. How we're funded is we're funded by state, federal, county, and grant dollars, with our largest source of funding right now being our grant dollars. And the return on investment, as I know you're interested in that from the previous conversation, was that for every dollar invested in Michigan State University Extension, it yields at least $6 in programs and services back into the community. I always like to hit on the numbers and what we did this last year. I continue to be impressed with the work of our team. So obviously, through COVID learning, we realized that everyone is accessing our programs in different ways. When we weren't programming in person during those years, we realized that being available on demand, being available in an online learning capacity, being available in like an asynchronous learning environment is key to making sure that we maximize our education. So we continue that opportunity for folks, as I like to call it, MSU Extension on Demand, that you can access our learnings in whatever way is possible. You can access it through traditional learning, such as being in a classroom in a room like this, or you can do it, as many of you experienced with New Commissioner School, in like an asynchronous learning environment where you kind of self-taught yourself through learning pods during the sessions. So again, this last year in Grand Traverse County, 392 unique programs were accessed by your residents. So that's really the equivalent of a class being done every single day in this county in our old model. So your residents accessed 392 unique programs this last year. Over social media, we accessed 44,180 unique page views on our several county MSU Extension pages. We have a 4-H one and a general one. We also reached over 4,911 residents through direct programming, and over 50,000 folks were accessed via like our indirect learning, which would be like our health fairs. Those would be online newsletters, those types of access points. So again, just another touch point for you to see how many people and what the scope of our reach was this last year. Agriculture is obviously some of the cornerstone of the work that we do in Extension, and so again, we're always very supportive of our local agriculture community, recognizing that that's kind of one of the key economic drivers in our area, and we have multiple staff working on that, and I'll be referencing a lot of their work during this presentation as well. So one of the highlights that I want to talk a bit about is, actually, just a second. Sorry. I just had to log in. I just want to make sure I've got the right one. I'm sorry. Just a second. Nope, that's. Okay. Viticulture, so I want to just highlight a little bit about viticulture. So working with our local viticulture community is very important. The nice thing about viticulture is, and the work that we're doing, is we're really working hard to elevate the quality of wine while creating sustainable practices. And I know Ismail works very diligently with our viticulture community especially to make sure that they have the knowledge that they need to be able to make those important decisions. I know some of the work that he's done over the years has been focused on robotics and laser repellent as well, because that's some of the #1 challenges that they see in the fields as well. This is just a second. I'm sorry. I'm not certain what's going on here. I'm so sorry. Oh, I see what happened. So Jess had updated a different one. I'm sorry. This is the right one. I'm so sorry. I just know that looked very similar. I'm so sorry. Yes, this is the correct one. I'm sorry. She updated one from last year. Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry.
All right.
Okay, thank you again. Technology is not my friend today. So I wanted to just backtrack a bit on agriculture. So we were the host of the Northwest Michigan Horticulture Station bus tour, where we had a tour that happened in Leelanau County, where the MSU president hosted over 80 different dignitaries and researchers from across the university, and they had a chance to learn specifically what's going on in our territory as it pertains to Michigan State University. So that was a nice little feather in our cap to be able to highlight the hard work that we're doing as an agriculture community. Specifically with regards to agriculture as well, we do quite a bit with integrated pest management. And what that means is we're talking to our local growers and saying, this is the best time to spray based on the invasives that are happening, or based on water and rain events that we're having, this is the best time with which to do some of those remediation efforts. So again, trying to help our local agriculture community make decisions around profitability so that they know the right times with which to make their spray, so they're not spraying and then the rain's coming and it's washing it away. They're spraying effectively at a very cost-effective strategy. So just some pictures of the work that they do out at the growing sites. And again, with the wine grape industry, I did talk about that already. Ismail conducted over 22 in-person site visits this last year at vineyards and provided 16 different scouting reports. So he'd go out to the fields, he'd go out and visit 8 different growing sites, give those growers information they needed so again, they could make those best economic decisions for themselves. Dirt to Glass continues to be an important project for us. I know I really want to give a shout out to Kate Edwards. She did quite a bit of work as a Grand Traverse County office manager here in and around doing all the design work and all the social media promotion for Dirt to Glass this last year. So we wrapped up that conference in cooperation with Intentional Agriculture and Michigan State University through the Ag Bio Research wing of that. And again, we had another great event over at the historic barns, and then we did site visits out in the vineyards that next day. So again, I had a question at break from Commissioner Nelson about hops, and I know, again, hops continues to be an educational opportunity for us because there are still hops that are kind of in our community. But again, it is a particular crop that I know those of you that saw, all the fields that were pulled over out in Acme Township. And again, I just wanted to answer a question that he had from me earlier. Is that still a growing industry? The #1 thing that they're seeing with regards to hops is the opportunity for it to become a non-alcoholic beverage. So how are they utilizing hops in flavored waters and other types of infusibles? According to Rob Sarine, beer sales are down while these non-traditional kind of non-alcoholic beverages are on the upswing. So these growers are looking for different ways to diversify their crops so that they're providing that to the industry with the greatest potential. But again, Rob's efforts to continue to look at that industry and say, what are your growing needs? What are the trend lines so that the growers can make the important decisions as well. Farm business management, continuing to help growers look at different ways so that they can do their business effectively is important. Dr. Chris Bardenhagen, who's housed in our Leelanau office, continues to work with those local growers, specifically succession planning and cost of production guides are been his big projects over the last few years. So helping growers say to themselves, okay, I need to decide how I'm exiting farming. How am I going to create that succession plan, either with my family members or with selling the farm or whatever the situation is. So he will work one-on-one with them. He brings both a farming background, he's also a lawyer, and he's also a PhD in farm economics. So again, he brings that really strong next expertise that growers will be able to make effective decisions. One of the comments on the slide here references the work that he does with tax end meetings, and again, he helped local growers save almost $54,000 so that they can reinvest that money back into their farm from tax savings. And I just want to do a quick little discussion on Extension Master Gardeners. So Extension Master Gardeners are individuals that have participated in a 13-week training and then have gone on to also become a approved volunteer through our organization. And last year, Master Gardeners donated 2,095 hours in Grand Traverse County, which was a value of $70,000. And you can see some of the efforts that you see on the screen. You can see the downtown pollinator beds that are beautification, but then also become citizen science projects where folks can walk by and scan a QR code and then indicate the number of pollinators that they've seen on those sites as well. We also answer questions for residents, horticulture or pest management questions during every Wednesday at our office. So people can bring in their diseased, dying, dead plants, and then we go ahead and we have a master gardener, or Dr. Nate Walton out of our Leland office does the diagnostic for us. Just a couple more pictures about our Extension Master Gardener work. So again, we help with food gleaning projects that could be in various gardens around the area, as well as community beautification. The work that you see here is from Hall Park as well. And then there's a special little downtown Traverse City post that we pulled off. And I just wanted to mention Fern Spence, thanks for helping with those every year. She's in the bottom right corner as one of our volunteers. So thank you so much.
My
No
pleasure.
autographs, please.
Yes. Again, it's just a nice partnership with downtown development, so we utilize our volunteers and leverage those as the labor needed to plant those every year, and then the downtown provides the funding for the planters, and then they do the watering. So again, it's just a really nice partnership that benefits both the municipalities for sure. AgriAbility is a new grant-funded project that I know you haven't heard me talk much about. AgriAbility is a program that we have where we have a staff person that links resources to growers that are experiencing difficulties, allowing them to farm in place. So let's say, for example, a particular grower no longer can potentially maybe lift his arms over his head for whatever reason. We can provide grants, and we can provide custom designed equipment through those grants to be able to allow them to continue to farm in place. So again, these are individuals that want to remain in that business. They want to remain and do the thing that they love most, but how do we provide that accommodation? So again, just continue to allow them to continue to farm in grace and with dignity as well. So that's a new program. Sam Wolf is housed in our Benzie office, and she is a great asset for this, has been at numerous trade fairs in the area really promoting the work that she does, and meets one-on-one with individuals that need this level of support. And I know you've heard me talk about Farm Stress before, but Farm Stress, again, is just our linkage of providing, supportive mental health support for growers that are experiencing crisis. Again, just as a reminder, the growing community as a labor group has the highest level of suicide of any labor group that there is. So again, just providing that support. As a very proud individual in farming, they often are the least ones to reach out for help. And so again, through this supportive program where we take referrals from programs, from participants themselves and other supportive people in their lives, we can link them to mental health services that are provided to them in a teletherapy setting, and again, in a very confidential way. So again, it's a nice opportunity to link both the economic piece of farming, so helping them improve their economic side, but then also giving them the mental health support that they need in order to continue in that profession and obviously live a healthy life. So 4-H and developing youth communities. So Sarah Bai provides leadership for our 4-H program. And again, I'm just going to talk a bit about her work over the last year. In the 2020 23 to 2024 program year, so again, last year's data, we had over 587 youth enrolled in year-round clubs. And again, we wouldn't be able to do this work without our 160 gold level volunteers and 22 silver level volunteers. The bulk of the work that we do in 4-H is with youth and adults working in partnership with a trusted adult. And one of your very own Grand Traverse County residents, Carrie Bancroft, was awarded one of our Volunteers of the Year through our state office. And again, there's a special shout out to her in the written form of the report. But we had nominated her, and she did receive that. And many thanks to Carrie for her leadership and support of 4-H and our youth in the county. One of the big outputs through obviously our 4-H program is our livestock education. That's probably the largest clubs that we have in Grand Traverse County. And one of the efforts of our volunteers and staff is to provide a 4-H livestock educational expo. And as part of the youth showing at fair each year, they have to have so many hours of education. So we provide that education in partnership with our volunteers and staff from across the state to provide that opportunity for them to take an advantage of a Sunday afternoon to be able to get all their learning done. And last year we had over 24 educational sessions, and 271 youth from multiple counties participated in that. And again, they had a chance to really learn more about animal handling, cost benefit, excuse me, of raising their animals, feeding practices, safety, showing and how to effectively market to buyers. So those would be just some of the examples of what they had a chance to learn. We are the only county in the north that does anything like this for all their youth at once. So something to be commended. It's a pretty big lift for our volunteers each year, but just wanted to give a highlight on that. And I want to also do a caveat, excuse me, that these numbers that you see on the screen are from the 2024 fair. So the Grand Traverse County report we typically do first, even though I'm presenting it later in the year. So these numbers are reflective of last year's fair, not the one that just completed. But we did have a record-breaking fair this last year. And again, I want to give a shout out to Northwest Michigan Livestock Council, who is our 4-H volunteer entity, as well as Northwest Fair, as well as all the buyers in our community, because they did another record year. If you've never been to the auction, I would encourage you to be our guest. Come have lunch and come see the generosity of your community that comes out every year and bids on these youth animals and these projects. Again, this is a way for you to learn some entrepreneur skills. Many of you are business owners, so it's again a chance for them to raise an animal from scratch to be able to take that to market. So they need to learn marketing skills. They need to learn how to effectively care for that animal. They need to learn how to create a cost-benefit analysis so that they can make money on this project. And many of the area youth, through their proceeds, reinvest that money back into their future. It could be potentially college. It could be a car for them to get to their first job, or some sort of trade school. So again, this is a way for these area youth to kind of improve themselves and gain some valuable entrepreneurship skills too. So we'll segue to some of the work that we do keeping people healthy and ensuring safe food. And I want to thank Sarah for being here today as one of our nutrition staff here. So our SNAP Ed program, we provide nutrition education last year for individuals that are limited resource. And with that, we would teach them how to eat healthy while on a budget, and then also to how to access food if needed. So again, this work really represents what Jane Rappin and Michelle Smith did last year. You can see a variety of the programs that they did here through some of the images, but some of the work that we did is we did some nutrition education for a life skills program, again, teaching those area youth how to cook for themselves while on a budget and doing that safely. So again, thinking that at some point in time, those area youth will be living on their own, so that they now know how to cook for themselves, to not be reliant on takeout food and things that are less healthy. You can also see some education that we did also at the Botanic Gardens. That's a great partnership that we've enjoyed with the folks over there. So we provide nutrition education on utilizing locally grown foods as well. Also through Munson with the Prescription for Health program, individuals that need some additional support focusing on healthy eating, they will get vouchers to purchase locally grown fruits and vegetables at the farm market. Again, these are all grant-funded programs where it gives them a chance to then go and redeem those tokens and then utilize the learning that they had with us to be able to apply that learning and grow and to be able to consume those healthier foods using recipes that are provided by us. We also have enjoyed a really lovely partnership with the Pantry to Preschool project with the Father Fred Pantry. So again, through 10 different childcare sites. Over 182 children were served, where they get a box for the weekend that is accompanied with a recipe, kind of a step-by-step recipe, and all the box includes everything that they would need to be able to make that meal. And I know Sarah's done quite a bit of great scholarly work on that, and so I just wanted to give that a shout out, that if anyone's interested in reading more about that particular project, we could provide that as well. Again, we do a lot of learning in the schools. There is some information shared about Kingsley Elementary, which is a sustainable science project, where we combined growing different types of fruits and vegetables, well, mainly vegetables in the school, and allowing then the youth a chance to cultivate those and then consume those as well. So it becomes more about that science-based learning. So again, that's a nice part about the school as well. And again, just transitioning a bit to some of the work we do with fostering strong communities. I know many of you know Mark Breederland's here. He's our Michigan Sea Grant educator, and again, he's probably our expert on water levels. So if you ever have any questions in and around water levels, he'd be the go-to. He's definitely someone that's reached out to quite a bit, both nationally and locally, on the status of our water levels as well. So some of the projects I want to highlight here is some of the work done by the Product Center. So again, the Product Center takes your food-based or bio-based idea and takes it from idea to marketplace. And so if, let's say, for someone is interested in starting a homemade salsa, something that's obviously overdone, but nonetheless, so they have their salsa recipe, and it's the best salsa recipe, and they want it on the shelves of all the grocery stores. So our Product Center employee would help them take that recipe, turn it from recipe into shelf. And so that leverages all the assets of the university all across the state. So you might talk with someone that might help you on packaging. You might talk to someone that helps you on processing. You might talk to someone that would help you on that marketing, on that, getting that into the shelf. So again, this is your Product Center data for Grand Traverse County. This is just your data. It represents the work that we did with 28 clients or entrepreneurs, which had 69 employees, and we provided 121 counseling hours. And those businesses saw a 30,500 sale increase. And those businesses had an annual sales of 2.1 million. 2 new products were launched, and 5 licenses were obtained. So again, that's your Grand Traverse County data. This area, my whole region, is probably a hotbed, in my opinion, for Product Center work. And so that's kind of nice to see that you have a lot of entrepreneurs that are taking their ideas and taking those to marketplace, which functionally, obviously, economic drives, Grand Traverse County for sure. Other efforts that we did were the CEC conference, which is Connecting Entrepreneurial Communities. That was held just south of here in Cadillac. Again, it's just another opportunity for folks that are interested in that space on growing local entrepreneurial communities can learn more about best practices. I know there's been talk about possibly pitching. Obviously, Grand Traverse County has a lot of interesting things that we could highlight for sure, so that could be something into the future. And then on the bottom there, you'll see kind of a zoom picture, and that's Chris Bardenhagen. I'm sure he's not crazy about that flattering picture of himself. But Parker Jones and Chris Bardenhagen co-hosted a online session for folks to learn more about setting up co-ops. And so again, it combined that fiscal side of it with Chris Bardenhagen and then the business side by Parker Jones. So again, just another opportunity for residents to access in your community. Something that was kind of a project of mine that I'm really excited to talk about and then maybe give a spoiler for 2026 is last year we hosted an agritourism summit, and this was directly a response from the community asking us to try to be maybe a peacemaker or try to kind of simmer down the conversation on the Old Mission Peninsula between, the planning and zoning and the vineyards. So again, this kind of came from Trevor Tkach and others that kind of reached out to me and said, hey, what can you do? And so from that synergy, I gathered a great team of MSU staff and external folks, and we planned an agritourism summit. And the goal of that was to link planning and zoning folks, municipalities with entrepreneurs to say, how do we try to find a space where everyone can be profitable, meaning from a standpoint of following the guidelines from planning and zoning, but then also give these agriculture operators a chance to become more profitable. Because research is showing us that traditionally just growing your crops, putting it out for sale is not enough anymore for these folks to remain sustainable. And if we want to enjoy the beautiful landscape that we have in our area and the things that made us all choose to live here and work here, we have to do something different. So we tried to gather the best minds across the state and the nation to come together to host this agritourism summit. So we did day one of farm touring up in Leelanau County and ended with a networking event at the Farm Club. And then day two was educational sessions over at the Haggerty Center. And I know Commissioner Seifert was present for both of those days, and we appreciated him coming. We're going to be doing this every other year with 2026 featuring farms up in Antrim County, and then we're going to have our networking event over at the Flint Fields at the horse shows. Traverse City Horse Shows is going to host us for our networking event. They're going to do a jumper event for us, and then we're going to have like a mini trade show there, and I will send you all a personal invitation. And then a learning opportunity would take place then day two over at the Grand Traverse Resort and Spa. Again, with that same mentality of bringing all those tools together so that folks can have all the tools in their toolbox if they're saying they're interested in becoming an agritourism operator, and the municipalities getting the information that they need to make those better decisions as well. So that's in 2026, but I will make sure you all get invited to that networking event. And then last but not least, I just wanted to highlight some of the work that Mark does, and Mark is again here, and Mark, thanks for joining us today, focusing a bit on Sea Grant. So again, just Mark does quite a bit of work working with marinas and local municipalities on water levels, and obviously quality marine projects so that we can make sure that we're protecting our environment. And again, he was a speaker last week at the annual Freshwater Summit, and he focused on water levels. So again, thanks, Mark, for all your efforts. We also continue to work with municipalities, and I know many of you participated in New Commissioner School. That's something that happened last year as well, and a thank you for your participation in that. It's a great way for our local units of government to kind of have the knowledge that they need in order, as you are newly elected officials, to be able to make those decisions. There were a couple of other projects I wanted to highlight as well that Mary Riley did out of our Manistee office. She also focused and did some classes for Inland Township and the planning and commission and zoning roles, as well as cultivating local farm economies for Peninsula Township. And again, I always just want to say a special thank you as I conclude my report that without our partnership, we wouldn't be able to do this work on behalf of you every day in Grand Traverse County. And again, I'm always here for questions should you have any. And thanks for my patience with my technology earlier.
It's not a problem.
Thank you. Any questions for the director? Fantastic report. So the agritourism thing, if you didn't go, you should absolutely go. I learned boundless amounts of things. Look forward to it.
Interesting.
Just a
Commissioner Spence?
comment about the MSU Dairy in East Lansing on the campus of Michigan State. It's always fun to go there and see the new products that you brought up in your presentation. And when you see them from Northern Michigan, it's an added bonus.
So what Commissioner Spence is referring to at the dairy store, they have like a little section of things that were made in Michigan. So if you go there and just happen to get some ice cream, you can also walk away with some obviously made in Michigan products. So they tend to feature a lot of those products that are made through the product center that you can do that as well. There's also a Making It in Michigan conference that we host each year. Again, that's another opportunity to go and find of the breadth and scope of all the different products that we've helped to do through the product center as well, but thank you. But so if ice cream isn't enough of a draw, you could go ahead and, it's good ice cream.
Any more questions, comments, concerns?
Ice cream would be a nice addition to the presentation.
Maybe next year, maybe next year.
Cheese.
Also, there you go. That sounded good.
Thank you again.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so we're going to move on to items drawn from the consent calendar, I believe. Commissioner Nelson, it's your show.
I think it's all me.
It is.
Thank you. B19, Boards, Committee, and Appointment Recommendations. I'm going to ask at the end of my comments to divide the question between all of the other appointments and then just the out-of-county appointment for the Northwest Regional Airport Authority. So just last week, there were 5 different boards that were being interviewed for, and there was 17 initial applicants. So it was a big day. The people doing the interview there for a long time. And after the decisions were made, I received some calls and found out about one of the members that was an existing member that was not reappointed. So I wanted to talk about that, and that has to do with the the out-of-county position for the Northwest Regional Airport Authority, and that is somebody who doesn't live in Leelanau, Grand Traverse County, because the airport is a regional airport serving more than just our two counties. And we have an existing board member who was not put back on the board. And, well, excuse me, while we appreciate all the people that apply for these positions, I think there better be a very high bar for when you remove somebody. So Mr. Beechnow was the one that was existing board member, Paul Beechnow, who was removed. He is out of the country today and unable to be here. So I've written some comments down because I want to be sure to get, and it's fairly brief, I promise. I don't normally read from something, but I want to make sure I hit the highlights of this candidate so my fellow commissioners, what I'm going to ask is that you approve all the other recommendations from the ad hoc, but we approve Mr. Beechnow as opposed to the one that was recommended by the ad hoc. So why would this Board of Commissioners appoint somebody to serve on a board and then after he serves with great distinction, fire him? Paul Beechnow is an exceptional board member by every measure. Let me share a few facts about the man that we are considering removing. Paul drives 2 hours to attend every airport authority meeting and subcommittee meetings. He has 5 years of board experience and over 35 years as a tourism professional. In fact, he is the longest-serving tourism bureau director in the entire state of Michigan. He has served for 18 years as a county commissioner, plus various other community boards on a volunteer role. Paul doesn't just attend the meetings, he actively promotes Northern Michigan. Paul travels with the airport marketing team to new markets, appearing on radio and television to encourage people to visit our region. His expertise and credibility as a tourism professional make him uniquely effective in this role. Paul is highly respected by his peers. He currently serves as the vice chair on the NRAA board and is slated to become the board chair in January of 2026, after several years of preparing for this very important role. Removing him now would disrupt the board's leadership at a very critical time during a $125 million terminal expansion project. Let me say that again, a $125 million terminal expansion project. Paul's dedication goes well beyond the ordinary service. When his home was struck by lightning and burned to the ground, he continued to attend meetings and performed at a high level while he rebuilt his life in his home. During last winter's devastating ice storm, when his home was without power for days, Paul still made it to meetings and remained fully engaged. I have no animosity toward the individual the ad hoc committee has proposed to replace Paul, but that vote was not unanimous, and I can't help but believe that if all members truly understand how effectively Paul has served and how important he is to the board, they would have voted differently. This board has also received several letters from respected tourism professionals, community leader, and a state legislature supporting Paul's continued service on the airport board. I'm going to respectfully ask my fellow commissioners to consider why we would dismiss a citizen volunteer who is uniquely qualified, highly respected, deeply experienced in the industry, and currently serving with great dedication. Personally, I find that unconscionable, which is why I'm asking for this additional consideration. And finally, decisions like this make it very hard to attract and keep good people who are willing to volunteer their time and expertise on boards. Please support me in supporting Paul Beechnow and voting to keep him on the Airport Authority Board. So with that, I'd like to divide the question of the appointment, pulling out the Northwest Regional out-of-county position. I'm not pulling out the other appointment to the Airport Authority.
Point of order. There is no question to divide. There's not a motion pending.
Yeah, Darrell, just make the motion.
Made a motion.
There you go. It's not dividing the question. You're going to make the motion to
Well,
separate the
you
others
can't
from
divide a
that one.
question when there's no motion on the floor. So just make a motion to approve everyone except for the airport
All right,
seat.
thank you. I thought I was doing that correctly, so I'm going to make a motion
Team effort, bud.
to approve all of the recommended appointments with the exception of the remote out-of-county position for the Northwest Regional Airport Authority. Does that work?
Yeah, second.
Works for me.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Nelson to approve all the ad hoc recommendations except for the NRAA or the Airport Authority out-of-county representative. It was seconded by Commissioner Henschel. Discussions at this time? Let's roll call vote it. Bonnie, if you please. Oh, my apologies, Commissioner Morris. I didn't see your hand there.
Yeah, I have my hand up. You know, I deeply appreciate the people who volunteer their time to be on ad hoc committees, and it's not easy. You've got a lot of people to talk to, and you have to sometimes weed through people who interview well and people who perform well, and sometimes they're not one and the same. You know, but this wasn't even on my radar. I've never been on the airport board. I've only attended a couple of meetings, and so I rely on people who are experts in this, and I rely on people who know how the board performs. That's, you know, usually we would have one of those on a on the ad hoc, but it just didn't work out that way for whatever reason. That being said, I immediately started getting calls about this. I have constituents who are involved in this, community leaders, vendors at the airport, and the airport director himself is my constituent. And they have every right to call me because I literally work for them. I speak for them and their concerns here today. They have every right to be concerned about this. They have every right to be upset about this. And they have every right to do so without being criticized by people for bringing these concerns forth. So, I also understand what it's like to be on a board that's quickly moving and to have a well-performing member up for reappointment and, you know, worried about whether that person is going to be able to stay on the board, and it can be very upsetting. I would support Mr. Beach now just because I am not the expert, and I am listening to the experts who've been there, and they're in their, you know, boots on the ground. So that's what I had to say.
So my question would be, I want to clarify. I think the first vote will be on all the other members.
That is correct.
Right.
And then we will have a second vote.
That is correct.
Okay.
Penny, Commissioner Morris is just ahead of the game as usual. Bless you. So if there's no more comments or questions, Commissioner McAllister.
I just want to know what the, trying to formulate this, sorry, I'm a little behind the ball, is why remove somebody if they're in good standing, or did they do something wrong to be removed to replace them with somebody else? So I guess that's for Ashley and TJ.
Well,
Right.
I think that would be better served, not to just miss your question, is let's have a vote on this right now, and then when we'll talk about Mr. I always say
We're voting
Beauchamp,
on
but that's
everybody
not
else right
correct.
now, except for that seat.
Is that what you want to
Beach
do?
now.
Beach now.
That's the motion on the floor.
Let's take it.
All right, so if there's no more comments, questions, or concerns, could we do a roll call vote on that, please?
Hear the motion again.
Everyone except the airport,
Yeah.
the out-of-county airport.
All the other appointments.
Okay. Flynn?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
McAllister?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Seifert?
Yes. Commissioner Nelson.
I'd like to make a motion that this board approve the reappointment of Paul Beechenow to the Northwest Regional Airport Authority for the out-of-county position for reasons stated.
I support.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Nelson, supported by Commissioner Morris to reappoint. One more time, Daryl's name.
Paul Beechenow.
Paul Beach now to be the out-of-county representative of the Northwest Regional Airport Authority. All right, folks, let's have that discussion. Who would like to go first? Commissioner Henschel?
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner McAllister, I'm sorry. My apologies.
I'm in the first chair over here, and we're going around.
That's right. First chair,
Hit 'em
Commissioner
all, hit 'em
McAllister.
all.
He's in a different zip code.
So my question is what it was. I just want to know why remove somebody for whatever reason to put somebody else in.
Well, we do that quite a bit when we're feeling like, you know, we have a lot. And I'm just going to back up and say, I was so happy we had so many qualified and overqualified people for so many boards. We haven't really had that. And it was really great to see the interest in that board in particular. And everybody we interviewed was qualified. And all we have, like, I too don't serve on this particular board, and all I have in front of me really is their application, their resume, if they submit one, and the interview we have with them, right? Nobody reached out from the airport director, the airport board, any members of the community to say, you know, we recommend reappointing this person or that person to this board. Sometimes we do hear from boards to say, you know, we really are happy and we would recommend reappointing this person. In this case, we didn't hear from anybody for any of the boards, which, you know, is fine too. So that's all I would say is that the person that we recommended was incredibly qualified, amazing interview, has so much to offer the board from his own life experiences and unique perspective, and especially his background in mediation. And I thought that would be a valuable addition to a board that is receiving more and more public, say, criticism and just public interest. And I looked at that and thought it was very, very valuable.
I'm going to let Commissioner Andrews respond because she was also on the ad hoc committee, and then I will probably say my piece, and then we'll continue on with questions, if that's all right with the board.
Sounds good.
Okay, Commissioner Andrews?
Yeah, thank you. I note we just 2 minutes ago passed a motion that replaced 2 incumbents with new people on both the airport and parks boards, and nobody raised an eyebrow about that. It seems this is somehow different, and I'm not clear. So to Commissioner Walters' point, we had for the out of county, right? We had 2 applicants. One presented a comprehensive resume. It's got over 50 years of experience in aviation, in leadership, statewide, nationally, and locally, and presented very, very well. And then and Mr. I'm going to get it right, Beach now, applied and also did a nice job, but we had the information in front of us. I do not see these decisions as a firing. I think that's frankly inflammatory language. I think we are asked every time we make these decisions, just like this board has done in controversial appointments to boards in the past when there was a feeling on the commission that makes these appointments, that the oversight that the person they are appointing to that position would benefit the organization. That's what we do. We appoint people who we think in the best information we have available to us, and it was the decision of the ad hoc committee that that Mr. Bomer would be a good addition to that board and would fit in, bring some perspective that's not there, and that seemed beneficial to that organization. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So I was the lone no vote on this while this went. And if I was to go by resume and interview alone, I would have sided with my fellow ad hoc members. That's just the reality of it is. And I can appreciate everybody sending me a letter. None of them were from Grand Traverse County. I don't answer them. And quite frankly, I don't care. This board determines who we put on these boards to represent the people in this county, what's best for this county. What's best for Charlevoix or Petoskey or Gaylord, I don't care. What's best for them is that we do what's best for us. And it's like, I have never been a big fan of the and so we're going to shift gears a little bit. I've never been a big fan of the ad hoc process just for this reason right here. We had 3 people that voted. Hey, we're a republic. That's how it works. Those are the rules. That's the vote. And then we don't like that vote, so now we're going to pick it apart, and now we're going to make it a spectacle. Then why do we have ad hoc committees at all? We talked about how many great applicants we had there. The reason we have more great applicants is because some people who've been on a board for 15 or 20 years are not anymore. Nothing that they did wrong, nothing that they did right. It's just like, hey, that's why you don't have a president for more than 2 terms. It's time for somebody else to take the helm. It's time for somebody else from fresh perspectives. I fully believe in that. I have faith in that system from the bottom to the top. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here. So if we were going to start doing this, then we could start doing interviews as a whole board. And we can make a spectacle of it. You know what? We got, how many months we have 5 Wednesdays in? I'm sure we can pick out a couple Wednesdays a year for whatever. I'm not a big fan of committees where we proxy out what we should be doing. But this is a part-time position and we do the best that we can. This is the system that everybody here at this table has championed one time or another when it worked out for them, but it didn't work. But when it doesn't work out for them, they are more than happy to challenge that. That is also the system that we have. I have no dog in this fight, and quite frankly, the airport's got bigger things going on than this. So now I've said my piece. Commissioner Walter, who, by the way, Commissioner Walter was the chair of that, so I'm going to defer to her.
Well, whatever, it's just, I just wanted to share that I'm not offended that it was pulled, and this is the process, like we just recommend. And if the board wants to have a discussion about it, I'm totally fine with that. It's just, you know, we get a group of people together to meet for almost 5 hours to interview a lot of people. And that's not even all the boards that are out there that we're interviewing for right now. I think there's another one who just met or is meeting. And it's part of the job, and it is an important part of the job. So, and I appreciate the ad hoc process for appointments. I think it's important. And so I'm not offended that, you know, our choice was being questioned. It's just part of the process, so I'm fine with it.
Commissioner Hensel, you had your hand up for a hot minute.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll second what Commissioner Walter said. It's the process that's been around as long as I can remember, and I don't know any county that does it much differently. I've sat on tons of these ad hoc committees, and every so often somebody wants to talk about one of them, and we do, and sometimes it goes with the committee, sometimes it doesn't. I just want to iterate also that there's no disrespect towards either applicant in this case, whether they're picked or not. One thing that was a little different about this interview process was that the commissioners who sit on the board were not on the ad hoc, and that's historically almost always, I can't think of another ad hoc where somebody was picked, but somebody who sits on that board wasn't on the ad hoc. So that was a little different. So I think that does lead to a little more discussion on the floor, and we're looking for a balanced mix of people on the actual boards, for all our boards that we appoint. And Mr. Beach now provides something that isn't available in other people. He actually travels. He's, you know, just last year he was in Dallas doing the Today Show in Dallas, promoting Traverse City and Cherry Capital Airport and the region, you know, not just for tourism, but also for business travel. That's something that isn't available in other members of the board. You know, yeah, I could go, but it wouldn't be a Paul Beach now. You know, he's a tourism guy. He's polished. So I really appreciated his participation there. The person recommended by the committee is looks from the resume a great guy, involved in Civil Air Patrol. It's a charity that does a lot of great things, and that's the general aviation side of the airport. It gets other side away from the airlines, and that is a great voice to have. However, we actually already have that with Dan Johnkoff's considered one of the ringleaders, if you will, for general aviation, and he's a strong voice on the board currently. So that's my personal feelings why I would lean towards Beach now. And I would have expressed that if I was on the committee or if I had attended the committee meeting even, but I didn't. But so that's why I support Paul Beach now for the balance he brings and professionalism and the support in the community, and and obviously with as Commissioner Nelson mentioned, we are on the cusp of spending a lot of public dollars, and Mr. Beach now is already up to speed with everything going on. He's showed up for all of his committee assignments. And I would encourage the board to give him one more go on the airport board for those reasons.
I'm just going to come right down that we all mostly of us had a chance to speak. Commissioner Spence, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, just quickly, I want to just reiterate what Commissioner Morris said about people stepping up to the plate to apply for these committees. It's so important, and we really appreciate the community coming forward for these vacancies. It's so important. But going back to what we're talking about right now, snap judgment. I love to look at the resumes. I love to look at the people's applications who come through. And I wasn't part of this ad hoc committee, so I didn't interview these individuals. But based on like looking at their applications, we had 2 out of the 3. The guy that we're under consideration right now that we're trying to support, there was no resume. Like, I know nothing about this guy, like, except for what he put on his application. And to me, that just doesn't seem respectful. A resume would be helpful. The other 2 people that have applied for this who have stellar resumes, stellar qualifications, will make the drive. They have lots of professional experience. I'm sure they attend meetings because of the boards that they've served on for multiple years. They clearly show that they're community leaders. And one guy's a Coast Guard veteran. So I think that it speaks highly for the other 2 applicants who you've recommended. I like to see a resume. I like to see that somebody respects us enough to share their qualifications. And I think that's really important to state.
Come down, I'll come back to you, Ashley. I'm Commissioner Walter. Commissioner Flynn, you got anything?
Yeah, I have sat on these ad hocs, and it is important for the public to know that a lot of times this is all we see when we start this process. Everything that we look at is sent to us, and if it was a job interview and I don't get a resume or I don't get a great stellar interview, it goes to another person, even if it's within the company that you're interviewing for. That being said, I'm not for or against either candidate, but I do trust the process, and I trust my colleagues when they're doing this position, and I hope we all respect each other's opinion when we are on these ad hocs.
One thing I'd like to point out, both of these gentlemen showed up in person, which is huge. I'm a big believer. I'm like, well, if you really want the job, you'll show up in person, and so they both get kudos for that. So
Or show up at all.
I'm going to let Commissioner Nelson finish up. We're going to vote on this.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I had something.
Do you want something?
Go
You want
ahead.
to go ahead, or you haven't
No, you
spoken yet? Okay. So first thing I had written down that Commissioner Walters said that the committee wasn't contacted. I did contact Commissioner Seifert. I didn't want to contact all members of the board for worried about violating, because that would have been a majority if I contacted 2. So I did make that contact. I did ask to be on this board to help with for this position, and I wasn't put on there. And this is no disrespect at all intended for my fellow commissioners who are on this board, but this is the process, is that there's a recommendation from an ad hoc, and then the full board makes a decision. So I'm asking this full board, with all the information they have in front of them, to make this decision. It's an important decision. You're removing the incoming chair of a very important committee. We're already replacing one board member with Rob Donnell, who's a good candidate for the board, but we've already, of a 7-member board, we're already replacing one. I don't want to replace our vice chair, the incoming chair. And the other thing I would say, and again, there's no disrespect at all for the other candidate, but the other candidate has interest inside the fences of the airport, and that's their sphere of concern. The other candidate has a statutorily required interest, because it's an out-of-county position in the out-of-northern Michigan region. He's got a Rolodex. He can contact representatives, senators, and all the tourism professionals and everything, and he works with them on a daily basis and has for over 35 years. And the only reason I am bringing this up is because he's such a qualified individual, and I have the pleasure of working with him, that it would be a hit to a board that we're appointing for to remove this individual. So that's why I brought it up. I've never done this before, so I just want to, if you believe me, that this is a very important issue. So, thank you.
Commissioner Andrews.
Yeah, so I just wanted to respond first to a couple of comments. Commissioner Henschel correctly noted that there was not a member of the airport board. There also was not a member of the parks on this committee and potentially some of the other boards that we interviewed for, and that reflects a couple of things. One is that we had 5 boards that we were interviewing for. We can't have a 5-person ad hoc committee, and that was a matter of efficiency for both Lisa, who was scheduling all of these.
Poor Lisa.
To have it on one day, as we all
love
know,
you,
that's
Lisa.
a real challenge for her. And then the second thing is I understood that Mr. Nelson actually was on the first iteration of this committee. There were 2 committees that were assigned to ad hocs early in the fall, and when Commissioner Nelson was unable to make those meetings for a long time, that we swapped out Commissioner Walter to sit on that committee. So that's the only reason, to my knowledge, that Commissioner Nelson was not a participant on that. I also want to make the note that I believe that when a person is appointed for a term, they are appointed for a term, and they shouldn't have an expectation that they will get reappointed because they did a good, just because they are still eligible for that seat and they haven't served the maximum or whatever the thing is. I think we have a process because we think terms are for a reason, right? It's an opportunity to see if anyone else is interested in that seat. We do that for every single board, and if the default is if you're the incumbent and you're not sort of termed out or whatever the term limited or whatever, if there's a term limit on your board, that you're going to get it, I think we're going to not see applicants. We're going to see people not applying for these positions, and I think that's not in the best interest of the county going forward. And then the last thing I want to just say is that it does give me real pause when there's such strong resistance to changing the status quo from the board, from its current members, and frankly from the director that they oversee. I can think of a board in the last year when those red flags just went up and made this board go bananas. And it just seems to me, I don't understand the resistance, and that's just where I'm coming from.
Last comment, Commissioner Henschel.
Thank you. I appreciate, I share a lot of Commissioner Andrews' sentiments on boards in general, and but we're not talking about an agency who is being investigated or has financial fiscal problems. We're talking about, in some statistics, the fastest growing airport in the United States of America. It is very well run, and it is an award-winning airport. Its staff are heavily involved and celebrated in their industry. So I think status quo is a good thing in this case. That's all I'll say. It's not the same as some of those other situations.
All right, let's do a roll call vote.
I think Commissioner Morris had something to say.
Yes, Commissioner Morris.
Okay, so if we're talking about resistance, all of the community leaders that we have heard from who were opposed to this change, why do you not see them here today? And all I'm going to say is they were discouraged from fighting this, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, roll
Oh,
call
wait a
vote,
second.
please.
Can you repeat the motion?
Yes,
that's on the floor?
please, Commissioner Nelson.
The motion is to put Paul Beach now on the NRAA board for the remote position.
And who seconded that? I apologize. That was Commissioner Henschel, I believe. Oh, Commissioner Morris.
Ready? Andrews?
No.
Walter?
Yes.
Wait. Okay, sorry, yeah.
This is to reappoint
Yes.
Paul Beach now.
Yep.
Okay. Walter?
I already voted yes.
She
Yes.
voted yes.
Thank you. Spence?
No.
Nelson?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
McAllister?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
No.
Seifert?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. We want to take a break, or we want to move right along to B20? This is your call, Commissioner Nelson.
I think this will be brief if we could go ahead, if my commissioners, fellow commissioners are okay.
We all on board for that?
One more.
All right, let's go right ahead. B20.
No pressure, Donna, but, Donna Kinsey's here. My question was, as I was reading this is an important, we're having to do with the employee healthcare policy renewal for the county for the next year. And I read through it. This is an important issue to the employees, and also the county should, our citizens should understand it. But at first, as I was looking at it, I wondered if there was a certain labor contract that was kind of pinching us, that maybe if we were to spend the money just to make that contract right, if it made a difference. And I also understood that there was a leave rule. So I'm just going to I'm not questioning this. I'm not disputing it. I just thought it was good for clarification from our very capable HR director, who will do a much better job than me.
Okay. Hi, I'm Donna Kinsey, and we all know I talk fast, so we'll get out of here soon. You know that. Yes, the reason why we chose to go with Priority Health is, I'm going to say there's two reasons. Most importantly is all the contracts kept it at, say, 2,000, 4,000 in them. So that's the main reason why we really can't change it unless we went out and got all LOUs, which I don't think we'd get signed off on. The second thing that we need to be aware of is we have Blue Cross and we have Priority Health. They're HMOs. And with Priority Health, which is wonderful, I'm going to use me as an example. I get poison ivy if it's in the next county. And so if I got poison ivy and I wanted to go see a dermatologist, if I had Blue Cross Blue Shield, I would have to go to my primary doctor first, pay that office visit, then I would get to go to the dermatologist and I'd have to pay that office visit. So that now I'm out, $300 for the visits because of the fact that we have a high deductible health plan. With Priority, they kind of waive that HMO. So I would just I could just instantly make the phone call, set up an appointment with my dermatologist to get on steroids so that I could get over my poison ivy. That to me is huge. And I'm going to say there's probably a third reason. The new deductible is $2,500 and $5,000. And yes, both Priority has come back with their match on that with Blue Cross Blue Shield. If we leave and if we could go to Blue Cross Blue Shield at this point, we would never be able to go back to that $2,000 and $4,000 deductible. We're grandfathered in, and that is fabulous to keep our high deductible for a two-party and a family at $4,000 versus $5,000 out of pocket.
Any questions?
So this is a takeaway for us. The contracts previously have said you, the employer, are required to have similar health care. And that health care has just been determined on the RFPs for health care that we do every year. And this contract is different. The contract actually enumerates the deductibles, the 1,000, 2,000. So I have 3 contracts here. If you wanted to see, they're all the same language essentially. And what we need to do going forward with our negotiations in 2026 is to change that and not allow it to be locked into that the county will provide substantially similar health care to its employees as a benefit. So lesson learned.
So I'll make a motion to approve the current Priority Health benefit offering that's for 2026 that's in front of us today.
Second.
Recommended.
Oh, boy, there was a whole bunch of seconds there. Who wants to have it?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Can I also just add to this? I know Donna's great with this, and we just wanted it, and I talked about this with the agenda committee. Every time we change insurance, it's a major challenge. And sometimes you gotta change PICs or primary care physicians, and it really is a benefit to the staff to have similar insurance they can just rely on.
Continuity.
So I appreciate the board's consideration of that.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Nelson that we approve as presented, and I'm going to do a second with Commissioner Flynn. I think she threw herself in there, did you? All righty.
Threw herself.
Through herself. Through herself. Keeps awake. Thank you for being here today, Donna. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Uh,
Guys, have a good day.
Ms. Shealy, if you roll call that for me, please.
Walter?
Yes.
Benz?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
McAllister?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Seifert?
Yes. Fantastic. Let's move right along. Let's do 9A.
So we're going to have a break.
Some of us need a break.
Holy cow, I know we're all tired. Let's do a 5-minute break, which will end up being like 8 minutes, but we'll say it's 5 minutes.
Unless we move to attack the chair.
No, let's not do that.
What do you got? Run with a good smile. Get to go back and do it again. Oh my God. Got a lot of kids. Yeah. You can get these Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Hunting season, yeah. I just.
I lost that vote. Nope. Are we all back? Let's get this show on the road. It's all right, so we're gonna be 9A, the Item Tompkins Building Lease. That'd be Mr. Forsythe. It's your turn.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to just reintroduce Jennifer Berkey and her staff, Kate Edwards, who's also here. They've worked really hard in developing this lease. All I did was coordinate this. And just, if you recall, back in July, the Board of Commissioners did approve a letter of intent that would allow MSUE to rent space at what was known as the Ida Tompkins TCAP building. So we have gone through lease negotiations with Undaunted Courage LLC, which was an LLC created by Ford Insurance Agency. So Ford Insurance will have the bulk of the main floor, and then they are renting space to Michigan State University Extension. We have provided in the packet a pretty detailed cost analysis. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jennifer.
Well, thanks, Chris, and I think you understated some of your efforts. We've had a great committee working on this, and Chris, you definitely picked up a lion's share of the effort, and so thank you very much. So again, just here today to seek your approval for a lease for our facilities. Obviously, just as a recap, you know, we are currently at 520 West Front. We need to be vacating that space at the end of December 31st of 2026. And so this was our attempt to find a space that would meet our needs. What I like best about this space, and not to reiterate the conversation from July, is we're leasing what we need. There is not enough office space for us here at any county facilities, so we're utilizing the space potentially across the street to lease office space, while we'd be able to be close enough in proximity to utilize the reservable spaces for our teaching. If you've ever been to 520 West Front, you know we have a large conference room, a small conference room, and we do teaching in those spaces. And again, we would be able to utilize the county-owned space across the street plus storage. So that's basically what I like, is we're only really leasing what we truly need. And we found a nice synergy with Ford Insurance as far as kind of a good partner that I think that would be you kind of want to pick your roommates well, right? So I think they'd be good roommates, and I think we'd be obviously good roommates as well with them. And again, this is the lowest cost option that provides us with the space that we need as a office team. So again, we're just hoping that you would consider this. Again, I feel, just to not recap the process too much, but it was a very intensive process where we really left no stone unturned. I feel like as a committee, we all brought our different expertise. Obviously, Chris with his knowledge of leases and obviously his legal background plus being deputy administrator. Obviously, John Chase brought his facilities hat on it. Kate and I looked at it from the lens of what would work for our team. Plus, then we obviously brought in legal to review some of those details. And so, again, it was just a very synergistic process that I believe led to really the best possible outcome for the county. The nice thing about when we vacate 520 West Front Street, obviously there will be rent that will be paid by the city, and that rent cost is lower than the fixed costs over across the street, which again makes it so it's like the sooner we can move, the better it would be, to be honest, because it will be a functional, kind of net revenue or cost savings to the county, if you will. So again, just trying to come up with the best possible scenario for us that meets the needs of both the fiscal, stewardship for the county as county stewards of monies, as well as meeting the needs to allow us to continue to provide the quality service in the county.
Thank you. Any questions to the director? Commissioner Henschel.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the lease as presented and authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of Grand Traverse County.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Henschel, so approve as presented with support from Commissioner Spence. Commissioner Andrews, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just a couple of questions regarding the taxes and fees that are separate items in the lease agreement. It's my understanding the county is generally tax exempt, so I'm curious about us paying taxes back to ourselves
Yeah,
or
so
to and the city and everybody else.
We did ask the legal opinion on that, and you're right, typically, we would not pay taxes, but because it's privately owned space, we would be responsible, and then the number that was developed, the estimate, came from numbers provided from county equalization and city assessing.
And we think those are estimates based on the value after reconstruction. So, and relatedly, security deposit, is that refundable?
I honestly don't know. I've lost the internet connection. I can't.
It just seems like a chunk of change. I feel like we're kind of good for,
I'll look it up here.
our word is good,
Yeah.
that we're going to pay rent every month.
Where is the security column? I'm
It's
looking
It's on
for it.
6, number 28.
And it's, if you look on page 11 of 11, there's a breakout of all the costs on an annual basis.
7 of 11,
Page
Darrell.
6, okay, sorry.
It's at the bottom, towards the bottom.
Security deposit, tenant fails to perform obligations, deposit necessary to compensate.
It doesn't state.
It doesn't actually state, I think the law is around security deposit, but that is a,
Well, if you look at the last page, it's definitely, is being portrayed as a sunk cost, right? It goes into the total cost. It's not a sort of hold.
hold this policy with liability for interest as security for the tenant's performance of its obligations under the lease.
Bless you.
So you'd have to violate the obligations under the lease to lose it, according to this. I am not an attorney. You are. So I am going to
just-
defer to the others in the room.
It seems like we should have some assurance that, I mean, frankly, I'm surprised we even have to put a security deposit down, considering we are the county and good tenants, but,
Dealt with U.S. Postal Service, we always got deposits down.
and then the last,
Looks like Matt might have something to say.
oh,
Got something to
yeah,
say,
thanks.
Matt? Can't hear you.
Testing, testing.
Yeah, we're in.
Go ahead, Matt.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So the security deposit is only going to be lost if we breach one of the terms or do not leave the premises in a condition that is free and clear of any damage.
That will come back, should come back to us.
Yes, unless there is damage or we do not perform under a condition of the lease.
Be nice.
We're very nice to our space.
And then my last question, and this is more of a comment than a question on the basement remodel. I see that $352,200 is the estimated cost to do that remodel. But my understanding is if we did that, that wouldn't just be necessarily a 3-year term. It would be for the length of the occupancy. So if you did that, and if there were certainty as to the future of this building, that would obviously, in my opinion, be a no-brainer, right? Because if you did that for 10 years, you would have that space at $30,000 a year instead of $80,000 a year. It seems to me that this is a cost we are incurring because of the uncertainty surrounding the future of our facilities, and that's just a note. We gotta make some certainty decisions, because if it turns out this building's going to be here, we would certainly move in that. I suspect we would. And
It's a little more complicated than that, because the city, our conversations with the city about the basement is they need that space as a precinct.
As a what?
Precinct.
Precinct,
Oh.
voting precinct.
yeah,
And under our joint operating agreement, they have equal say in the decisions of the building.
yeah. I'm just observing that and presumably considering how limited use it is for for a precinct that's not even in the precinct, where the line is actually.
Precincts are the other side of
The other
Boardman.
side of the road. Yeah.
Details,
I
details.
promise you, this is my precinct. I was there last night. It is not, we do not vote in our precinct.
But this is my district.
Right.
Different precinct, but.
But regardless, I am fine with moving this forward, but I do think we need to keep these decision-making going so that we have a long-term vision as to where we're going and how we can ideally include MSUE under our own roofs.
Which was obviously our priority, but it just didn't work out. And so this was kind of the best-case scenario, given all the variables that you're looking at as a board, for sure.
I didn't see, Commissioner Nelson, go ahead.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
well, I just want to give credit to Mr. Forsyth. I negotiated a lot of leases like this in my career, and I never had to negotiate with somebody whose name was Undaunted Courage. So, good for you.
Mr. Walter.
Well, I applaud you in your creative use of resources and space, knowing that you're just really using office space over there and that you're going to utilize conference rooms in this building and for your trainings and stuff. So I think that was a really creative solution, and I
was
do
a
like
team.
that it's 3 years, and hopefully we'll include you with everybody else when we get our situation figured out.
We'd like to be with everyone else. There's a synergy of working with other county departments. I mean, I can think about our land use educators being just down the hall from planning and zoning. I think about us being closer in proximity to health department, some of the work that we do in and around mental health and healthy living. And so there's a lot of synergy with being closer in proximity to people. There's an opportunity for water cooler conversation that develops better and bigger ideas on behalf of the county. So thank you for your consideration and reflections. We tried to be very cost prudent for this as well.
That's really well stated, because that's what I wanted to say. I like having MSU Extension closer to our county government like it is in Leelanau County. Their Leelanau County building, their MSU Extension is within their facility or their campus, and I think there's a lot of cross-pollination,
Pollination, yeah.
that we can have. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your support. We appreciate your vote of confidence.
I didn't see a notice to quit before the 3 years is up. Will we sign this and we're in for 3 years, whether we take the space or not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my one question.
Are they on track for an April? Okay.
I'm hopeful. I mean, I feel like, in my opinion, I mean, they can clearly see that there's this exit strategy for us by March 15th, where we would then have to pivot and create a whole new plan if they don't have a certificate of occupancy by then. So for me, I don't think they would have drafted this if they weren't, capable of doing that. But I'm guardedly optimistic.
And they have Undaunted Courage.
The city arrangement that we have with the city allows us to stay in the facility until December 31st in the event that there is a delay.
Not a penalty if we come out before that?
My question is, if we do have a governmental presence in that building, can we change the precinct location?
That's been discussed in the past.
All right, so I believe there's a motion on the floor. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Thank you again for hanging out with us today. and
Oh,
all
it was
your
a pleasure.
good
I
work.
learned a lot. So thank you so much for always taking the time to listen to our questions. So thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to 9B, 2526, Operations Management Plan for Camp Grellick. Director Chase.
Yes, thank you. Give me a moment to pull this up here. All right, let's try again. There we go. All right. Thank you. Again, John Chase, Director of Parks and Facilities for Grand Traverse County. Commission, staff, members of the community, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and join you this 2 minutes until afternoon. So we got a little bit of time here until that comes along. This plan that we're about to talk about is our operations and management plan for Camp Greilich, and this is I'll call it the first effort by our parks staff to put together a plan that will help move us forward with Camp Greilich. It's been a great process over the past year, and really involved a lot of community involvement, and a lot of community input with the process as well. So really pleased to be able to put this together. This plan was accepted and approved by the Parks Commission, and it was also formed the basis for our site plan review with East Bay Township. So we've really focused on two intended uses, or two kind of areas of use. So first is our use is consistent with the historical use and activity on the property for the prior 102 years. First as a Rotary camp, and then since 1955 as a scout camp. The second, our use is consistent with the primary and accessory uses of a park. And we've broken that down into three different components. So programming, park amenities, and facility use. So I want to talk a little bit about each of those three areas and just kind of give you a snapshot of some of the things that we're thinking of, some of the things that we have done in terms of clearing and prepping the property. So this particular picture that you're seeing here, this is Caitlin. She is she's one of the leads for North Sky Raptor Sanctuary. And we've been talking with them about potential future involvement on property. This is actually a release that we coordinated, and they released 3 different birds on property. So she's releasing one of the 3 hawks that was released. I don't know which one this was. This wasn't the Cooper's hawk. I think this was a red-tailed hawk. And it was pretty exciting, and this is the kind of thing that could happen on property in the future in terms of some of the programming. When we first started taking a look at this property, the programming area is one of the areas that personally lit me up because I have a background in that, and we see such a need in the community for the type of programming that we can make available here. And there's an awful, actually I'm one page ahead. Nothing can make us happier than the opportunity to create a thriving hub of activity and bring youth and adults alike to the property for education. We tend to focus a lot on education for youth, but adults like to learn things as well, and this is a great space to be able to do that. And just to give you some examples, there's an awful lot of words on this page, and I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but this is just kind of a random stream of consciousness of ideas that we know that we can implement on property through conversations that we've had internally and then conversations we've had with potential partners. So the possibilities really from an educational standpoint on property are absolutely endless. And in terms of some of the partners that we've worked with or are working with, you'll see those listed here. They've already helped us out with a number of things. So Seeds, as an example, we've brought them in. They've been a great supporter. In fact, they were out yesterday doing some additional work on property in terms of cutting trails and preparing trails and replacing some steps and just really making the place a better space. The Conservation District, Woodland School, which you'll see some things here in just a moment, Boy Scouts Scenic Trails District, Heart of the Lakes, Grand Traverse Bay YMCA, and et cetera that you see listed there have all been great helps for this property so far, and we have great hopes in the future from an educational standpoint. The second of those areas that I mentioned were park amenities, and there's already a great list of park amenities around property. When we took over the property, some were in good shape, some were in not as good shape, and we've done a lot of work to be able to bring those properties back to the shape that they could be. So what you're looking at here in the picture is the human foosball court. So if you're not familiar with this, we haven't had a picture of this here before, but you can kind of see the ropes in the middle of the court. So think of a foosball game where you have those bars, and you'd have the players and the bar game, right? That you spin it around, and the players spin around on the bar. Well, this is kind of like that, but not quite the same thing. If you've ever been to a 6-year-old soccer game, so you know that when the ball goes, all 6-year-olds go in the same spot, right? So they all run along at the same spot. It's just a cluster of kids running around at the same time. Well, one of the ideas behind this is that you're basically connected to that rope or that wire. And so as the ball comes, it comes to you, and you can slide laterally along, but you can't move forward and back. So it kind of eliminates that whole ball hog aspect of it, but just creates a different atmosphere. So, and those of you who've played it before, I've not, I can probably tell a little bit more about this, but this picture that you see here is a group of ladies in the area. They called themselves the Sisterhood Group, and they came out and they helped renovate this particular piece for us. So they had a fantastic time, and we're really excited to be able to get them out and get them playing on it as well as other people. Trail use. There's a great network of trails already on property. We've added more trails, so the picture that you're seeing here is the newly cut or bench cut trail that goes from the parking lot to what we're calling the lagoon loop. So there's a little lagoon area. So this is about a little bit less than a mile altogether for this trail, and it winds through the woods. So some nice soft single track with some good visuals through that. But hiking, trail running, snowshoeing, cross country skiing, biking. So an all season trail network is what we're looking at with this. And we've already got that network in place, and we'll talk signage here in just a minute as well. Disc golf course, we've had some great partners. Aloft Disc Golf has put together a group of folks that have come out and really helped us with this. We estimate that they've put in 500 volunteer hours with their group just in helping us reconfigure the disc golf course. We've new signage on the disc golf course, new concrete tee pads on the disc golf course, just limbing up around the course and making it look nicer and play better. And we're excited to be able to offer this one. We get, 4 or 5 calls every day just calling to see if the disc golf course is open yet. So we're close. Not quite there yet, but we're really close on that one. Another amenity is the bouldering wall. So this is as you go down kind of the main drive, you'll actually see this bouldering wall. So we've been working through this, and we've been adding some additional fall protection on this. So when folks come out and use this, they'll have a great space to be able to play as well. Waterfront. I mentioned volunteers earlier, so Aloft Disc Golf has brought out folks and done volunteer work. We've also had a hardy group from the Scout alumni who've come out, and we're estimating that they've put in about 700 hours of volunteer time, so another great effort. And one of the things that group has helped us with is they've helped us remove a lot of infrastructure that was at the waterfront, stuff that was just kind of cluttering up the waterfront, stuff that was in the water and just creating some hazards. So they've taken a lot of that stuff out for us and done a nice job in addition to some other things. But the waterfront use would be swimming and fishing and just general enjoying the waterfront. So this is a picture from one of the mornings here as fall started to approach. This is myself and Steve Lagerquist completely nerding out over this amenity. We didn't even know this existed on property until we had been exploring for a while and kind of came across it. There's we call it a mini BMX track, but kind of a pump track. It was developed back in the 90s. Ranger Cliff, who was there, brought 800 pounds of clay in and worked this into a small BMX track. And so we've already had Grand Traverse County BMX, GTC BMX, that they operate over near the fairgrounds. They've come out and said, yeah, we've got some interest in helping you recover this. And it's essentially all in place. It just needs to be groomed. So this is another amenity that, again, we didn't even know about, but we've kind of tripped across, and we think what a great opportunity for people to be able to explore. We've got a lot of new things coming as well, so kind of a what's cooking. So the group that you see here, this is a group of students from Woodland School. And initially, we had some ideas. You see these here, Mud Kitchen and Fairy Garden. We had those ideas to be able to bring them to the property. And we're still interested in those, but Kara and the team brought 18 students from Woodland School out. And you may be able to see in the pictures, but they're all carrying a little notebook. And their assignment was when they went to this spot in the park, and basically your assignment is to envision what would you do with the park. And I can't think of a better way to create an amenity in the park than ask those who would be using that amenity. What would they like to do? How would they envision this? What would they see? How would they use it? And that's what they did, and they took notes, and they were all excited about it. And so their charge now is to go back over the winter and to put those plans together and then come back to our Parks Commission and propose those plans. And then we'll figure out how we can put those plans into place. So we're going to continue to work with them. But Mud Kitchen and Story Garden are two of the things that we are still considering, but we'll also consider that within the context of what they'd like to see and they'd like to do. A story walk, we've been working with Traverse Area District Library on this. So it's kind of as it sounds, right? There's different pages of a book. As you progress along, you go to a different interpretive station. Those books or those pieces of the book that are there, and then you can interpret that, and there could be activities that'll go along with that, and those can be changed out. So this is an amenity that's not necessarily available locally and can be available in the park. So we're on track with that. And then one that has popped up that, the best ideas are the ones we haven't even thought of yet, and sometimes those best ideas are the things that people bring to us. And North Sky Raptor Sanctuary came to us and said, we know that you're taking on this property. This goes back a while. would you be interested in talking to us about potentially locating North Sky Raptor Sanctuary here? So that's turned into some great opportunities, some great discussions. Kara and the team went to East Bay Township to talk sketch plan review for a conceptual idea of bringing them to property yesterday, and that went very well. We're working with the Regional Land Conservancy to make sure that this is something that fits in with the conservation easement. And then on top of that, they being North Sky, have already started going through conceptual design work, and they've had Spicer and an architect out to be able to take a look at it and really put some pen to paper and come up with some neat ideas. So this could be a fantastic mission fit. So more to come on that one as we continue to move forward. So that's kind of what's happening from the amenities standpoint. And then the third piece is the facility use. And so facility use, we're looking at this in a couple of different categories, and we'll talk about those categories here in just a moment. But I wanted to just show you a few pictures of the facilities and what they look like today. So I know that we've seen some pictures of them in the past, but they've changed quite a bit since then as we've gone through this cleanup process. So what you're looking at here is the pavilion. And so that is in great shape and ready to use. And then Besser Lodge, so here's an interior picture of the Besser Lodge, so getting some cleanup done in there, and that's in a good position as well. Our facilities team has been working diligently to get our cabins up and running, to change over the standing pilot gas ranges, for example, and making sure that the water softener system is working, and making sure that our septic system is working, and we've got good water in the places. So they've been doing a fantastic job with that, and we're pretty close to ready with the cabins as well. The semi-rustic cabins, as we're calling them, so these are about the same size as a toll booth, and this is in an area what was formerly referred to as Staff Row, so the staff would live here during the summer. Well, we're repurposing these, and these would be an opportunity for somebody who wants a camping experience but doesn't want to camp on the ground and wants to be close to a building that's just out of frame to the left, and it's called the Dan Beard Shower House. And so they want to be able to have a space where they can get an outdoor experience, but also go for an indoor shower and go for an indoor restroom just 20 steps away from their toll booth-sized cabin. So that's another one that they're cleaned up, they're ready to roll.
John, can I ask you a question before you move on? Are those available year-round? Are those restrooms open year-round?
So the restrooms are not at this point, and those mini cabins would not be available year-round. They're not heated.
But the group ones are, right?
The group
bigger
ones are, yeah.
Yeah.
So those would be available once we're ready to make those available. We're still working out some issues with the heat and I'll call it gas loss, I guess. They're not all that well insulated, so we're just trying to figure that out and how we're going to manage that through at least this first year and then into future years, but more on that one. This is the bowl. So for those of you who had been to property before may know it as the fire bowl. We've kind of renamed this, and it's even referred to as the fire bowl in the plan, but one of the reasons we're naming it just the bowl is that it still has that heritage, and I saw the eyebrows raised, it still has that heritage of the fire bowl, but we don't want people thinking, I'm gonna go to the fire bowl. That's where I'm bringing my firewood, and I'm just gonna go start a fire in the woods. So we wanna kind of get people away from that thought process. And so this is the bowl, and think of it as kind of an amphitheater where fires have been held and could be held, but only on a sanctioned basis, as opposed to just Joe Random going down there with a bundle of firewood. But a lot of cleanup. This looks vastly different than how it did the last time we showed pictures. And again, thank you to the Scout Group and to the others who've helped us out and really made a difference here. And we've still got more to come in terms of the fencing and making sure that this is good to go. But it could host activity right now in its current form. The chapel, fantastic clean out with the chapel as well. So we're looking at it from the top of the steps. If we saw it from the other side, you'd be able to see just how clear that area is and how much work has been done in that particular space. And then our last one, coming back to the pavilion. I mentioned earlier that we've been looking at looking at facility rental in two separate kind of lines, and we're looking at it from the perspective of common good and private use. Or another way to look at that is common good are the things that we believe serve an educational purpose or have a broad common benefit or broad public benefit. And then that private use is more of the exclusive use sort of thing. So if Commissioner Seifert were to rent the pavilion for Commissioner Seifert's birthday party, only Commissioner Seifert and his friends are able to use that space. So you have private or exclusive use of that space.
Way more space than I need, John.
All right. But if that were to happen, you would have exclusive use of that. So knowing those two ranges, we want to make sure that we've got a pricing structure in place that gives benefit to our common good type programming, and also make sure that we have a mechanism to recover cost so the taxpayers aren't bearing Commissioner Seifert's enjoyment of the space for his private birthday party, that you would pay that full cost in effect for that. So when we think of common good, we've got a preferred rate in place, or preferred rates in place. We have also added a 12-month booking window for all of those common good type programs. And so we would be taking all of our requests in. Tentatively, we're going to start taking in those requests December 1st. We take those requests in and then vet those out as to where they land, and then make that determination. But we'd have a 12-month booking window for that. So meaning that if we open booking on December 1st of this year, you would be able to book out until December 1st of next year. You'd have 12 months to do that. And then we have flexible limits on something like this as well. And the reason we're putting a flexible limit on this, as opposed to putting a hard number of 50 people, for example, which we've got below, and we'll talk about that in a moment, is that pavilion picture that you saw. So we see a lot of educational opportunities happening there. We imagine something like in the future, not in the current plan, but in the future plan, North Sky Raptor Sanctuary being able to bring a few hundred kids into the property, have them all there in the amphitheater. Imagine an interpreter down at the bottom doing an interpretive program, and all of a sudden they release the owl, and the owl comes swooping down over the kids. The kids go bananas. It's a great time. Well, if we do something like that, we can get maybe 300 third graders in there, but I might only be able to get 200 adults in there. So if I fix a specific number on there, it doesn't give us that opportunity to be flexible to make sure that we're meeting the educational needs. And I don't want to be the person that has to go to Miss Kramer's third grade class and say, Sarah, you've got 25 kids in the class, but you need to leave 3 of them behind because that exceeds the cap. That's just not the right way to go about this. So we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to serve everybody. The private use, we've got premium rates in place for that. We have a 6-month booking window there. So December 1st registration, for example, with 6 months, you'd only be able to book 6 months in advance for something like that. So we want to make sure that we're giving enough space and giving enough room for all of those common good type programs. And then in that private rental area, private use area, we have a 50-person cap. And that really comes about through East Bay Township's places of public assembly. And so in East Bay Township, in the Forest Lakes Overlay District, which this property is located in, places of public assembly cannot exceed 50 people. So we've used that as the number for the private use to be consistent with that. We've also done a couple of other things that allow us to respect the area and respect the property and respect the creatures that you see on property in this picture. So one is time. And so one of the things that you'll see in the packet is we've said that private rental activities, they have to end by 7:30. Amplified music would have to end by 7:30 on property. In terms of permitting, what I mean there is, let's talk a little bit about alcohol. So we know that alcohol has been a point of contention. There's been some concern in the community about having alcohol on property. We allow alcohol on our other park properties, even our remote properties, and it's not been an issue of concern. And we plan to allow alcohol in this property as well, but with some limitations. So those limitations are that if you're hosting an event and that event requires special permitting from the state to sell alcohol, for example, then that's not something that would be permitted. But if you were hosting an event and you're bringing something in for you and your friends, that would be a permitted situation. So we want to make sure that we give opportunity for those who are wanting to enjoy a beverage responsibly with their group on property versus something that can be much larger and much different than that. The third piece that we've added to this is self-contained, meaning that any activity that's held on property must be self-contained on property. Can't go off property, isn't going to be parking off property, isn't going to create a large scene from that standpoint. So we want to respect the area and keep it self-contained. And then the last piece there is day use availability. We want to make sure that we always leave space on property for folks to come in for day use. So rather than booking everything up and having no space available for folks in the 103 parking spots that we have, we want to still make sure that we're leaving space available in that lot for day use for people to come in and enjoy it. So the exclusive use folks are not going to take away the ability for someone in the common good kind of area to come and enjoy the property on a drop-in basis or whatnot. I mentioned team effort, and putting together a park like this it's not just, buy the park and turn it on the next day. There's a significant amount of effort that goes into it, even more than I had estimated at the initial point. But as I mentioned, it's a team effort. It's been a team effort with facilities, with parks, with volunteers, with other organizations, and we've done a lot of trail clearing, trail cutting as well, as we saw earlier. So trail clearing, trail development, disc golf course renovation, as I'd mentioned, building rehab in terms of the cabins and getting those up to par, and getting the caretaker house up and ready. General property cleanup, getting all of those amenities and spaces cleaned up. When we walked down the trails, just before the leaves came down, we had an opportunity to walk through. As they were coming down, we'd already gone through and blown the trails off and cleared that area. And it just makes such a difference. And before we open the property, we'll clear those trails again to make sure that people can find their way around. Signage. Signage is a surprisingly complex aspect. We racked our heads trying to figure out exactly how to put together our whole signage network, and putting posts together and numbering the posts, and then making sure that when I'm at post number 3 and I know that post number 4 is over here and post number 5 is over here, and then be able to create a map and line all that stuff up. Again, it sounds real simple, but when you put it in practice, it's very complicated, and required a number of field visits to make sure that we had everything down on paper. And then we walked out and basically looked at that and said, all right, I'm at the spot where post 3 would be. Is that arrow in the right direction? So we make sure that we've got everything. And when people can come to property, that they'll know where they're going and that they can enjoy their time there. Waste management, where to put the trash bins. Again, I know that sounds really simple, but we got to think about, once we put it there, we've got to go get it afterwards. We've got to make sure that they're in places that are easily accessible, rather than having someone trying to figure out how to get it and then they don't get that trash bin. Same thing with dog waste bags. We want to make sure that we keep a nice environment for folks and that we aren't depositing all that we're making place for people to be able to pick it up. Emergency and safety improvements, working closely with Grand Traverse Metro and then a couple of other areas just to make sure that we've got all those improvements in place. And I know there's something I had in my mind for safety improvements that I can't think of off the top of my head, but a lot of that put in place. Guest services planning, making sure that we've got the ability to have a presence on property. One of the cabins we've set up as an office. It's called the Eagle Cabin, and it's basically the first one when you pull into the lot. We're going to have a person who's stationed there many hours during the week to be able to support activity on property and answer questions on property, and that'll be a combination of staff, and we're working through some volunteer support for that. Getting reservation planning ready. We've had a tree expert out there last week, and they're working on developing a proposal for us for a tree care plan to make sure that we can maintain a healthy canopy on property and make sure that we're respecting that. Creating a property map, and as I mentioned, signage. And so we're working through those last steps. Those last 2 things that you see on there are the things that are, I won't say holding us back, but once we get those done, we think we'll be ready to open the property. In terms of preparing to open, all the things that you see on here are the steps that we've taken, and then we are at this spot right now. So that circle, the red circle, is just kind of a little bit over to the side, and you'll see it's just touching the begin phased opening because we are really, really close to being able to do that. So I'll estimate a time, we think, about 2 weeks, and then we'd be able to get it open for trail use and disc golf use. So those who've been calling, asking us, give us just a little bit more time. We need to make sure we get the signs in. As soon as we get them in, it's a full court press to be able to get those up and get the map up. So we really feel that this plan and the approach that we've taken really help us move from an either-or kind of scenario, which we had a lot of either-or kind of things going on in the community, and moves us to a yes and moves us to a much more inclusive environment where we can do these things. We can deliver a valued service in terms of the amenities, the programming, the facilities that we run around. We can do that while respecting the environment, protecting the lakes, honoring the land, valuing the heritage, and be a good neighbor at the same time. So we're excited to be able to bring this to the public really soon.
Well, thank you for your presentation. I know this has been an arduous task because everybody's got some emotional attachment to this park. And I really liked your presentation, so very well done, and thank you. Was there any comments or questions? Commissioner Walter.
John, 7:30 feels really early. Not right now, because it's dark at 6 o'clock and I want to be in bed at 7:30, but
She
so
wants
much
a
of the
rager in
year.
the summer.
So much of the year. And really, I see so many other really cool public educational things happening, like lantern lit snowshoe hikes and stargazing and understanding, planets. And there's so much that happens after 7:30 that's educational.
Sure.
Tell me, I know that's kind of a compromise, but it just feels a little early to me.
So thank you for the question. We've left space for those kinds of things. And so when we refer to ending things at 7:30, that's the rental aspect of it. So if you're renting the space for your use, you've got music, that sort of thing, we're ending that. But programming is a little bit different, right? That's something that falls into that common good, that educational use. And so dark sky programming, that sort of thing, we've made space for that, and that's kind of a different aspect of it.
Scott's birthday party can't go past 7:30.
Right.
Good, because I also want to be in bed by 7:30. Any more comments or questions for Director Chase? TJ?
I
Commissioner Andrews?
appreciate the work and the emphasis on getting our youth outside and reconnecting with nature. So thank you for this presentation and all the work that Parks and Rec Board and your offices have put together.
Thank you.
It's great.
It's been a great team effort, and I commend Kara and Travis and Ariel and Scott and everybody who's been involved in this to get us where we are now. And we, like I said, we're super excited to be able to bring it to the public.
To Commissioner Nelson.
I just also want to say thank you to your team and to the Parks and Rec Board. I know how much work, incredible time this has been for you guys, and it's been a big project, and you've done really well. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And please pass it on to the board.
Will do.
Yeah, John and Kara did a great job navigating the nuances of this discussion with the lake owners and the Forest Lakes area, navigating through why is it 7:30? We talked a lot about that time, Commissioner Walter. We knew that was a concession for these parties.
A lot of moving parts on this.
There's a lot of moving parts, and I think we're in a better position now with the lakes owners and the Forest Lakes area residents than we were even a couple of months ago. And so I really do appreciate Kara and John's efforts here. They're the ones that stood up in front of East Bay Township Planning Commission and took the darts, so to speak, and were able to navigate those waters very successfully and competently. So thank you very much.
Yeah. And we don't, we're confident that those concessions, that they don't compromise our ability to do great things on property, that the relationship that we're starting to build or rebuild with the community is going to help us do great things.
Well said.
And they are subject to change, right? I mean, honestly, I think that's one of the first few paragraphs of your plan is this is where we are now.
Right.
And for those listening, those subject to change will be with going through the proper East Bay Township and all that.
Yes.
A lot of communication with the neighbors, and the temperature goes up and goes down, and that's one of the things when I'm complimenting you is handling them with respect and listening, and also listening to the needs of the community and understanding what cannot be done and what can be done, and still being available to the whole community.
We do appreciate that input. We value that input, and that went into the decision process. And we'll continue to do so.
Outstanding. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Great work. Okay, so it is now 12:25. I know we have a rule about undertaking something after 1 o'clock. Correct me could you fill in the gaps there for me, Commissioner Henschel?
Yeah, at 1 o'clock, we would take a unanimous vote to take up another issue.
Okay, so I would like to propose something a little different. We have 10A is inaccurate, so we aren't going to be discussing that today because that's our rule. If it's not right, we're not talking about it. And emergency funding request.
I'm not trying to block it. Is it legal to do that and everything?
Well, we can make a vote to postpone all these items till the next meeting, the next three that are on here, and I'm going to go with the will of the board. I'm willing to make that motion 1, 2, 3 at a time if that's the will of the board. Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Commissioner Walter, excuse me.
I am interested in having a short, efficient discussion about emergency funding request process, seeing as how that relates to our work group meeting on Friday, and it would be good to have some direction on that. That being said, we can do it another time if that's the
Well,
will of the.
you could still talk about it on Friday at the work group and come back with a recommendation for us.
Sure, yeah, we could do it that way too.
I mean, because
It's
I
just
am
we have a
interested in how that
lot
works.
I think at this time, we
discuss.
should also consider that our county clerk was up till past midnight last night doing an election, and she's now sitting in the longest meeting maybe of 2025, and
Not yet,
No.
but she's close.
No, we've been
So,
here
but
till
it's
2
been-
o'clock
she's-
before.
We're
so.
definitely working that clock for Ms. Shealy. So I'm going to make the motion that we postpone till the next meeting, items 10A, 11A, and 12A.
Second.
So I'm in favor. I just think that, I think who's on the meeting? Are you also on that, Commissioner
Yeah,
Nelson?
Friday.
yes.
I just feel like we want to get input from that committee back to this board on emergency funding process and whether that is or isn't part of what the cannabis group is covering. If you need further direction to make it part, then we need some direction as well. So
We can, it's just we have a lot to talk about on Friday, but we'll try to squeeze it in.
Fantastic. So I have a motion on the floor, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. I love you people. Thank you very much for that. We're going to move right on to 13, second public comment.
Good afternoon. Bruce Moore in East Bay Township in Commissioner Henschel's district. During the discussion on Project Alpha, Commissioner Henschel noted that some of the votes were going to delay things by 30 days. Had all of the commissioners, including Commissioner Henschel, McAllister, and Nelson, attended all of the study sessions over the last month, you would have been able to ask those questions then, and you wouldn't have had to delay anything. This board has an attendance problem. You need to fix it. My second item, Commissioner Henschel noted that, or made the remark that it's unusual for ad hocs to do interviews when there isn't the liaison member on that ad hoc, and that's incorrect. If Commissioner Henschel will remember, he chaired the ad hoc for the beta interviews. That was Commissioner Henschel, Commissioner McAllister, and Commissioner Morris, none of whom were the liaison for the beta board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more second public comment? Going once, going twice, third time's the charm. Any notices?
Yes, next week we have a study session on Wednesday that will include four topics. One is a CIP update, one of the final things that we have to do for the budget consideration. Secondly would be the airport bonding. Actually, the airport bonding will be first. Airport bonding discussion with Roger Sweat, Stephen Burke, and the airport crew will be here to present what their newest, most relevant information specific to airport bonding. Third would be the options for this NCS survey. We've been waiting to provide those results to you. I think that would be a good time for that. And lastly, options for consideration to limit the debt service for Project Alpha. We have several options that we've met a couple different times to say here is a range of funds that we could use so that we're not bonding for 30 million, we're bonding for 17 or 18. So we want to present those to you for your review and support.
I'll talk to you in a minute about it.
Four
Any other
different-
notices? Anything?
Are you new Commissioner Departmental reports or no?
Well, I guess we're going down that way because I saw two hands, so I'll let you go. You got anything else?
I would like to introduce the Board of Commissioners to Regan Feely. She's been sitting here very patiently throughout the meeting. Regan is a senior at Central High School, and she wanted to do a work experience within the government. So I think Commissioner Spence actually had some contact, and I did as well. So we reached out to Regan, and she's been working with us for this semester and until, January? The semester ends in January. So
I thought she was a reporter over there.
she could be. Regan, she's a good kid, very active young lady, and has got a bright future. So we're happy to have her. And as always, we're looking for opportunities to bring younger people into our world, to get them into the government space so that they can see if it's something that they're interested in the future. So I would just thank you, Regan.
Welcome.
That's all I got.
Oh, thank you very much, Minister Eldridge. So back down this way, Commissioner Walter?
Just a note, I was surprised that somebody from Pine Rest was not here, and so I just want to make sure that they are invited to the next meeting.
They were invited, Commissioner Walter, so we need to talk about this, maybe specifically, Commissioner Andrews and I had a conversation earlier about postponing this until Christine Wilmoth can be here. There is confusion surrounding the motion, what was actually included in the motion, so the agreement that was written doesn't reflect what the written motion is.
Yeah.
But when you go back to listen to your initial motion, there's some ambiguity there, so we're trying to work through that. But I will have Christine back here. She was not able to attend today.
Okay, well, let's just make sure we can get her on a meeting that she can attend. Because I'm sure there'll be questions that come up that nobody will be here to answer, so.
100%. Mr. Flynn?
Recess is in District 2 this Friday at the curling facility.
It's Friday or Wednesday?
Friday.
It is Friday. It's the only time on Friday.
Ah.
Only Friday.
Commissioner Morris?
So I just wanted to say that I am super over the moon pleased with Northern Lake Community Mental Health.
Get your mic.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that I'm
in trouble later.
I know, right? Yikes. I'm super pleased with our new CEO at Northern Lakes Community Mental Health. She's engaged in problem solving and very knowledgeable and articulate, and she was on the ball from day one. So,
Fantastic. I'm going to come back to Commissioner Nelson after. Commissioner Henschel?
Sure. Just real quick, two things. First, Cherry Capital Airport Board recently did pass an AI policy similar to something we're going to be doing here that we just postponed, but things like if staff are using AI in certain conditions, they need to let people know that this was from AI and, things like that. The other thing is I would like to congratulate Mayor Shamro for being elected to another term. Always been good to work with her. She's very responsive and always willing to meet with someone.
Fantastic. Commissioner McAllister, you got something? No? Going to come back to Commissioner Nelson?
I just want to say, back in February 2023, when I went to Washington, D.C. to the NAC convention, I came back from that stating that within a year or two, there were going to be tens of millions of households connected to their door with high-speed fiber internet, which was what the government plan was at that time. The joke has kind of been in the industry that they promised tens of millions and they've done tens. So, as we all know how that works in the federal government, but they just released some of the BEADS contracts, which I won't go into the details of that, but safe to say that Grand Traverse County has been awarded over $15 million toward that. And in the next year or two now, I'm saying it again, it looks like there's going to be a lot of houses connected that are in rural and don't have access to high-speed fiber. So it's good news.
It's interesting that where I hunt is a very remote location that is not within Grand Traverse County. And I went to camp last weekend. There was fiber optic to our gate. Why would they choose to put fiber optic into a wooded area versus a place like Grand Traverse County where you have
Federal
population?
government at work.
Oh, okay.
Charter communications.
Good news
at
is
work.
we're going to have great Wi-Fi connections.
Well, the map of Grand Traverse County doesn't have that many gaps anymore compared to other counties and areas.
True. Anything else for anyone?
Can I just give you one more update? Now that you mentioned the new CEO for CMH, I did meet her at a leadership team meeting yesterday at Munson Medical Center at the Wellness Center. I wanted to report that since opening, they have seen 604 individuals, and they have different stats. They have consumers that they see inside their building, and they also have an additional number of service provided. So that services goes beyond the 604 people because there are services being provided in the ED, et cetera. Of those, 70 have been kids. And they are very close to putting in the final designs for their basement CRU, and hopefully we get some permissions to move forward with that soon.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.